Okay. Going live. Okay. I need to change my camera. What in the world? I have the wrong camera on. Hold on. Anyone who's just getting on to TikTok or YouTube, just give me a minute. I'm trying to set up everything on YouTube also. And Linda's over here. I have the wrong camera on my YouTube. So give me 1 second. I'm trying to get everything going. Just join in, everyone. And I'm going to get going in just a minute and talk about a really, really interesting higher self hypnosis session that I had that you guys are going to learn a lot from. You will absolutely, I promise, you'll learn some stuff from, because it's a session. I love sharing about sessions where that you're going to be able to relate to what happened to her in her session. So I'm still trying to figure out on YouTube how to change my camera. Give me 1 second, guys. 1 second. Settings. I am not sure why it's forcing me to not use my better camera and microphone. Linda, you're on. You look amazing, Doris. Can you hear me okay on YouTube? Can you hear me? All right. Okay. I just really didn't want like my whole bedroom in the background on YouTube. Like, that's just weird. I wanted to be able to have like it more focused. But okay, that's what it is, because I cannot figure out how to get the other camera on. Okay, everyone who's joining, we're going to talk about higher self hypnosis. Are we going to get hypnotized? No, I'm not. You can get a session with me, but no, I'm not going to hypnotize anyone. I wouldn't do that without being able to keep an eye on you guys anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to get going, even though it's not the ideal view that I wanted on YouTube by any stretch of the imagination, but that's okay. Okay, so I had a super interesting higher self hypnosis session. And hi, Latoria, how are you? Somebody, user 1691031. Lots of numbers said hello, Tracy. So I'll say hi back. Not sure who that is on TikTok, but so glad to see you here, Linda, on YouTube. Yay! All right. I had a really, I'm going to repeat it. I had a really interesting session this last week with a client who we always look at a past life. We look at what they do in between lives. My necklace came off. If their higher self will show them. And then I teach them how to channel their higher self and then hear from their higher self. And so this client saw an interesting past life, but that's not the relevant part. I'm not going to really talk about her past life here, because that's not really the message that I wanted to, be sharing today, is her past life. I want to talk about the questions she came to the session with and what she learned from her higher self in her session. And it has to do with marriage. It has to do with career, having suffered depression, trauma, her mother, a very, very difficult mother. I know none of you can relate, right? So Journey On said hello from New York. Yeah, I'm not very happy with New York right now. Have to say, that's one state I've just made a vow I'm never going to visit. I'm very angry with New York City right now. They arrested my son. So my 20-year-old son, who is the best kid ever. I mean, everyone says that about their kids, but he really is such a good kid. And he was over in Spain for 3 months playing soccer, and he was flying back, and he had to fly through New York. And my daughter got a pair of brass, you can see where this is going when I say this, got a pair of brass knuckles from an ex-boyfriend of hers. And he somehow 2 years ago put these brass knuckles in his overseas luggage and never took them out. So he flies from Spain to France. this was just last Friday, from Spain to France to JFK. And then he was going into Virginia where we used to live. Now we live in Nashville, but he had to go back to Virginia to go to his, dentist and all that kind of stuff. So he had his carry-on bags with a friend of his who was going a completely different direction at the airport. They were just hanging out together. And he got a call. He was sitting with his friend. He got a call, Justin, we need to see you at the whatever counter. So he leaves, dumb, but he left his carry-on bags with his friend because he had no idea that he was going to be arrested. So he goes over there and there's a police officer. So yeah, New York is such a police state. Thank you. That's where I'm going with this. He goes over and there's a police officer that meets with him. And my son is one of these people that thinks you can actually trust police officers if they're questioning you. So he hasn't lived enough. He's only 20. And he's learned the hard way. But anyway, so this police officer starts asking him, are you the one that packed your suitcase? My son's honest. And he says, yep, it was me. Instead of saying, no, I was actually in a dorm with 50 other soccer players and everyone was helping me pack my bags and throwing stuff in my bags. My son didn't think about saying that. So he said, do you know everything that's in the suitcase? And my son said, yes, sir, I do. So then the police officer goes, so you know about the brass knuckles? And my son goes, oh, yeah. Whoa, I put those in my suitcase like 2 years ago. Did not even remember they were in there. Like total slip. They were in his checked luggage, guys. They weren't in his carry-on bags. They were in his checked luggage. So they went through his checked luggage and then took the time to call him over instead of confiscating them and just letting him go on his way. So anyway, he cuffs my son. My son's carry-on bags, again, are with his friend at the gate and takes him to jail. And yeah, right, karma doesn't care how sweet he is, someone said, right? Takes him to jail, books him, presses criminal charges on him for 3 hours. They held him in a jail cell. And the officer was like, oh, don't worry, you'll be back in time to get your bags and you'll be back in time to catch your flight. Well, that's another thing where my son learned you can't trust a police officer. So, yeah, I'm very jaded with police officers and now New York City. So yeah, he spends 3 hours in jail. And so I said to my son, I'm like, what did you do when you were in jail? And he said, well, the first thing I did was I meditated because he's a daily meditator. He goes, I meditated. And then I stretched, did some stretching. Hi, Landa. I did some stretching and then I took a nap because I was really tired from my overnight flight. And then they let me out. And I thought, oh my gosh. So, and they never at any point read him his rights. So I called an attorney friend of mine right away. And my attorney friend said, but he gave them everything they needed before they told him he was under arrest. And because of that, they didn't need to read him his rights because he had nothing else to say. He had already told them everything. So I got to learn, which I guess I really didn't understand, that if you voluntarily, maybe that's just me too, you voluntarily tell a police officer everything. And before they tell you that you're under arrest, they don't have to read you your rights. They only have to read you your rights after they tell you that you're under arrest. So he had already given them all the information. So here's the worst news. The worst news is, so he got on the plane, but his checked on bags ended up staying in New York because his friend had to leave and had to turn him into lost and found. And then they put my son on a different flight. So instead of flying into DC, he was flying into Virginia. So then his bags went to DC. He went to Virginia and his carry-on luggage stayed in New York City. So it was just like a mess. And anyway, he's ended up getting most of his luggage now. His other friend went and picked up his carry-on. But it's costing me $3,000 to hire an attorney to get him out of this. And when I Googled this and looked it up online on having, brass knuckles in a suitcase, like everything I found on Google said, yeah, the chance of you getting in trouble is virtually slim to none. They'll literally just confiscate your brass knuckles and, nothing will even come of it. Well, actually, that didn't happen to my son. So now it's costing me like $3,000. And it just made me sick to find that out. Right, Lewis? Made me sick to hear that news as I'm in the car talking to this attorney on my way to the gym this morning to go to a yoga class. And I was just really thankful that I was actually walking into a yoga class, because if I hadn't been, I probably would have been sitting there in my own tears, crying and stressing out and just beyond myself. This ended up costing us this kind of money for him forgetting that he had a pair of brass knuckles from my daughter from 2 years ago in a suitcase. So spiritually, what do I think the lesson is? Yes, we're going to talk about that for a second, just before I get going talking to you guys about this higher self hypnosis session. But anyway, so I was really glad to go into this yoga class to take my mind off this. It was perfect timing, exactly what I needed. Of course, I'm going to try to see if I can find a less expensive attorney in New York City, but this guy literally, like, this is what he does. He specializes in these things. So I know he's the best, but I don't know that we necessarily need the best. But anyway, so I did talk to my team. Linda, I'm so sorry. I did talk to my team and I said, what is going on here? My spirit team. I said, what is going on? Yeah, he actually, somebody asked if he was meant to be on that flight. Actually, he was supposed to be on that. That was his original flight. So, oh, you mean nothing happened to the flight he was supposed to be on, the plane he missed? That plane actually ended up getting into Washington, D.C. Totally fine. Totally fine. So, and my friend from the Netherlands is on. Hi, Mark, watching. He just messaged me. He's watching live from the Netherlands and said he's sorry to hear about my son. That's so funny. So yeah, when I was flying back from Spain, I got stranded in the Netherlands for 2 days. And I met this new spiritual friend, Mark, over in the Netherlands when I was over there, just totally random from being stranded in the Netherlands for 2 days. So it was fun. But yeah, so I asked my spirit team, I said, what in the world is going on? What is the lesson in this? And this is what I heard. I heard that my son, he is dead set on getting back to Spain to play soccer again. And he really, really wants to go. And he found another better team that he wants to be on. And he wants to get back over there. And he doesn't have a lot of patience. And so he really wants to get over there. And he's going to get a job over here back in the US because me, told him he's got to like start kind of paying his own way a little bit here. That was the last trip that was going to be on mom. He's 20 years old now and he needs to start taking a little bit of his own responsibility. So he was going to just earn enough to be able to get himself back to Spain. But now, in addition to coming up with the, $8,000 or $7,000 he needs to get back to Spain again, he's going to have to come up with another $3,000 maybe to pay me back. Because I told him, this is on you. I am not covering your attorney. Of course, I'll have to cover it now because you don't have a job. You've been traveling for soccer, but you're going to have to pay me back. And it's going to sit on a credit card, but you're going to have to pay me back. So I heard from my spirit team that it's to slow him down because he's rushing too fast and he's trying to get over too quickly. And it's not the time for him to get back over as fast as he would have had this not slowed him down by making him stay in the US longer to work a little bit more, because it's going to take more time, obviously, to earn another $3,000. So that's what I heard. So I don't know. And I kind of felt it almost has something to do with stuff that's going to like happen in the world. I don't know. I didn't hear what it is that's going to happen in the world. I didn't, hear anything like that. I just heard that, that he's going to be, that's not the place for him to be at that time. So I'm just going to trust that everything happens for a reason. And yeah, it hurts $3,000 to pay somebody's rent for them for the month. so that my son could be slowed down. That hurts a little bit, right? That I get to cover his rent for the month. But I don't even know. In New York City, probably doesn't cover your rent. And if he's an attorney, it probably doesn't cover his rent. He's probably got a house, a place that costs a lot more than $3,000 a month, but maybe it covers his utilities for the month. I don't know. But Lewis, Tracy, I'm obsessed with you. I'm supposed to work, but I'm distracted by your storytelling. Ah, well, Lewis, don't go away, because you're definitely going to want to hear my story about my client's higher self hypnosis session. Lady Camilla, hi Tracy, it's V. I haven't seen your live reaching out. My ex passed away. You did qhht on me 2 years ago. I believe you, and I know if I saw your face, it would ring a bell. So I'm so sorry. I'm going to go look up your session though. Maybe you can tell me approximately the day, because I want to go look up your session now. I keep all my notes and everything. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys about this session. So this is a client. This is a higher self hypnosis session I did. This is a client that it was her third session with me. And just to set everyone's mind at ease, she gave me permission to share her session. So I'm not going to break any confidentiality. You will never know who she is. I will not give any identifying information, on top of the fact, oh, hi from Sydney. Hi. On top of the fact that every single client who comes to me has to sign my waiver. And I worked in court for years as a court reporter, so I like to cover all of my bases. So I have everyone sign a waiver stating that they give me permission to share stories, including their whole session if I want to, as long as I don't play the video of their session. If I play the video of their session, I have to have another level of permission from them. And I get that level of permission when we are face to face doing their hypnosis session. So hers, I don't even know that I asked specifically if I could share it on video, but that's regardless, because I'm going to share it here on my live, because I want to talk about it as I share her screen, as I share her session. I looked at the word screen as I share her session. And so I'm going to be talking to you about it. But again, set your mind at ease. Don't worry about my business, how I run my business. I have my bases covered, and I don't do anything unethical when it comes to my clients or sharing their information. Okay. So now that everybody knows that, everybody can take a deep breath and just enjoy the story. I get people sometimes coming on my channel on TikTok and other places saying, just trying to stab me in the heart, saying, you're a bad person, you're breaking client confidentiality, without them knowing one bit about my business. So my business is my business. And just like your business is your business, I would never come in and tell someone else how to run their business. That's only if they ask for my advice. And unsolicited advice is unsolicited advice. So let's start so this was her third session. This client has a mother, and maybe some of you can relate. June 2021. Okay. Let me look you up. June 2021, she had her session. I'm going to write it down. June 2021. And you said in a past life you died in jail. Ooh, I'm going to definitely look that one up. Guys, I get to hear so many cool past life stories. I get to hear so many cool past life stories. But okay, so this woman has a mother who is incredibly, incredibly difficult. Her mother, these are her words, my client's words are, her mother is nasty. Like just a nasty, nasty person. She's miserable. She's negative, beyond negative, beyond negative. I've never met the woman. This is my client's words. She is incredibly negative. Everything that comes out of her mouth is negative, 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 negative. She's always cutting everyone down, berating everyone, doesn't have one positive thing to say ever. She's just a miserable, miserable person to be around. So this is what my client grew up with, was this mother, and she's always been like this. Her mother ended up getting a disease and I'm not going to say the disease because, again, I'm not going to give away any information that could even remotely identify my client. But let's just say that it's a disease that ultimately will end in her passing from the disease. She will end up dying from the disease, but she hasn't died yet. So because her mother has become incapable of living on her own, there's no one else, because her mother has so poisoned her relationship with everyone else. No one else has anything to do with her in the family, and she has no friends. So there's no one else to take care of her mother. She doesn't qualify for government assistance. So thank you, Lewis, for the rose. So my client ended up moving her mother in with her. So imagine that you have this kind of mother, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to move this woman in with me because there is no one else. So now her mother lives with her. And her mother moved in between the first session we did about a year and a half ago and between now. And it's just absolutely miserable living with her mother. Her sons, her children, won't even come to the dinner table and eat with the family anymore. They say, let us know when grandma is done eating and then we'll go to the kitchen and eat our food. So yeah, it's pretty negative around the house. So this is the situation that we're coming into with this client. So that's the situation we're coming into with her. So I asked her mother, I asked her higher self. I said, it sounds like her mother is a complete control freak. Is that correct? And her higher self said, 100%. She has a certain way of seeing something, and the way she expresses it or delivers the information about how she sees something is 100% negative. She could say something about a beautiful flower, but the way she delivers her information about the flower would be negative. Okay, there we go with the negativity again. She can't even see a beautiful flower and say something positive about a beautiful flower. And so my client, her higher self said, and let's call her Jenny. It's not her name, okay? But let's call her Jenny. Jenny is actually has learned to become very calm around her mother. And so she treats it, she has basically sucked the energy out of the negativity by treating everything like it's not a big deal. So between her first session with me and the third session where she came to me, she has done a complete shift in her emotional management of her mother, which was so cool. And she has, she just basically sucks the energy out of it. So that's what I was going to say. My first point to everybody is you can have toxic people in your life. Why you want them in your life, that's beyond me, but that's not my business. That's not my business. I don't do toxic. But if you do toxic and allow toxic in your life, you can handle it by just not giving that other person your energy. And I actually have a class on my website, wokelightworker.com, that is all about narcissists, gaslighting. Karen sounds like my current boss. It's about gaslighting, narcissism, and manipulation. And so that's one of the things I teach in that class that I have online on my website is you have to suck the energy out of it. You cannot give them your energy at all because they actually feed on your energy. It just motivates them to be like, oh, I mean, you see it when you have two kids fighting. I mean, my gosh, I have a 16 and a 22-year-old son, and that's exactly what happens with them. It's not my 20-year-old son that was arrested in New York. It's a different son. But they will just push each other's buttons and just go at it. And it's like they feed off that energy between the two of them. They just feed off of it. And it just keeps them both going and motivated. Same with the situation with my mom, except she's a good person but behaves nasty. Oh, that's what JP said. How do you know you're dealing with a narcissist? I'm not going to get into narcissism in this one yet. Maybe if we have time at the end, I will. But narcissists, you can find all kinds of information online about what is a narcissist. I mean, yeah. I'll introduce you to my first husband. So anyway, you just need to suck the energy out of it. Anyone who's trying to gaslight you, anyone who's being toxic, because they want to rise out of you. So just suck the energy. So she's done a really good job of sucking the energy out of it. And then this was really, really interesting, you guys. This was really interesting. I asked her higher self if there were any energetic cords between her and her mom that her higher self could tell us about. And her higher self answer surprised me because I have never received this answer before. So this is a really good place to tell you having a belief about something is not a good thing. Like any beliefs you may have, because then you have to constantly defend your beliefs. And then you can get into arguments with people and no, this is better. No, this is better. No, this is the way to do it. And this is the way to do it. Anytime you have a belief, you have to defend it instead of just listening to other people's beliefs and going, oh, that's interesting. And just being completely neutral about whatever their beliefs are. Like it doesn't matter because there's your belief, my belief, and then there's the truth with a capital T. So why does it even matter what anyone else's beliefs are? Because just because you have a belief and they have a different belief does not mean yours is right. And it doesn't mean theirs is right. And who cares whose belief is right or whose opinion or whose viewpoint? Like it literally just doesn't even matter. Again, if you get caught into that game of the beliefs and defending your beliefs, you're getting right into that energy, the energy around that whole situation, that negative energy of discord, of division. So anyway, I got sidetracked. Okay. So I want to say never. And I never say I've heard it all. And I know spiritual stuff. Like I know this is the case and this is always true. And this never happens. And that always happens. Never. Like some people have a belief that once you're a human, you cannot incarnate again as an animal, that's going backwards. I've seen enough to know my belief is that is 100% false because I see situations and past lives and other lives where clients have gone back and forth between being an alien and a human and an orangutan and a Neanderthal because time, I'm going to use my hairband. Time is circular. I mean, there is no such thing as time, but if you were to look at time, you would say it's circular. And all these little ridges in my hair tie here, all these little ridges, let's just say they're different time periods. And you can literally, with your soul plan, with your spirit team, with your spirit council, with your guides, whoever's helping you plan your various lives, you have like this scroll that says, okay, these are all the different things that I want to learn in my lifetimes. And so, oh gosh, I'm going to have to go to 1310, the year 1310, because that's the best place for me to learn these 3 lessons, whatever they are. And then you do that life in 1310, and then you meet with your spirit council and you meet with your guides, and they're like, oh, yeah. So for those next things on your spirit plan, your soul plan, ooh, you actually need to go to the year 2075, right? We're not even there yet. Like from our standpoint, we're not there yet. So they just literally jump from 1310 to 2075. And now they might go, up into the spirit realm after they live that life in 2075 and go, yeah, now you need to go back to 1747. There's something there with a family there, and you're going to learn these particular lessons. So you can jump all over because there is no such thing as time like we know it. It's not linear like we know it. So you can jump all over the place. I did not learn from Michael Newton Lewis. I did not. Yeah, this is so cool, right? So, okay, so you can jump all over because it really literally just depends what it is your soul needs to learn. And this is what I have learned. You can have whatever beliefs you want. I honestly don't, this is not unloving. I don't care what your beliefs are. You can have whatever beliefs you want. That's amazing. If you have different beliefs, go explore them. They'll take you as far as they take you. And then you might find out, actually, they didn't take me exactly where I needed to go. So now I need to kind of change my beliefs a little bit. So beliefs are kind of sticky things. If you imagine, those, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those glue patches. Like if you have crickets in your basement, they're like super sticky glue that you put down on your floor, and you can put them like around your basement and stuff so that if the crickets step on them, they get stuck and they can't leave and they die. Basement crickets. We had basement crickets at our last house. So, yeah, it's like that. A belief is like one of those sticky pads, and you're going to get stuck on it. And as long as you're there, you're going to be like defending those beliefs. So this goes into politics and everything, you guys. So if you're like, oh no, this is the right person for the job, or this is the right person, or, it could be any belief, politics or anything else, you're going to be defending that belief. And that takes energy. That takes a lot of energy. Instead of just being really, really open and allowing everyone to have a belief, and instead of looking at the belief that that person has, what if you were to look past the belief and actually just look at the person and totally honor and love and respect that person, no matter what beliefs they have, and just go, oh, well, that's a viewpoint. Well, that's an experience. Well, that's an opinion. Awesome. Instead of just, oh, how could they think like that? What are they doing? They don't know what they're saying. They don't know what they're thinking. Like, seriously, like why? Why does it even matter? Because then you're just putting yourself in negative energy, judging someone else, criticizing someone else for their journey. This is their journey. Who cares what anyone else thinks on their journey? Who gives a F what anyone else thinks? They get to think whatever they want. They can act however they want. If you don't like the way they think or the way they act, or it triggers you, well, that's a you issue. And you might, if you're on a spiritual path and you want to grow and elevate yourself a little bit, you're going to want to dig into, why does that trigger me? But you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to. You can just keep being triggered by those kind of things and wait until someday you do want to dig into it. But it really just doesn't even matter, because if you don't like it, or you don't like them, or you don't like the beliefs or the way they act, and maybe they're just really weird to you, so just remove yourself from their life. No one is holding a gun to anyone's head and making them be in anyone else's life. So let me see what I kind of, hi friend, love this. Hi Chantel. Like the mother, what was she in a past life to the daughter? I don't know if her and I got into what was her mother. We maybe did. I can't remember. I'll tell you a little bit more about the mother though. Let me get back to my story. Okay. I'm dealing with someone like this at work, and every day it's getting better, but my fight or flight gets triggered at times. So if you guys are triggered by someone else, first of all, if you are an awakening master, and if I just said those words, awakening master, to you, and something inside you kind of like stood up, like was like, oh, I think she's talking to me. Like if you had that thought, you're an awakening master. You don't even need to know what it is. If you had any kind of like feeling inside when I said, if you are an awakening master, that means you are. Okay. So if you are an awakening master, you want to dig into all your triggers. So that's what I said. You don't even, so somebody said, what does that mean? You don't even know. You don't even need to know what it means to be an awakening master. I'm saying if you got like a little jolt or an energy buzz or anything like happen and you're like, oh, that sound, I don't even know what awakening master is, but I think that's me. It's you. Okay. Yeah. Kind of like a zing in your head, John said. Yes, exactly. Mine, I always describe it as feeling like when I know something's for me, it's like a bell going off in me. It's like, ding, 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 this is for you. So an awakening master just means it's someone who is an older soul who has experienced a lot of lifetimes and seen a lot of things. And they're really here more for not only lessons, of course, we're all here for lessons, but more to contribute spiritually to the elevation of the frequency of the planet and to help lead and teach others who are not awakening masters, who might be younger souls. And they're more like mentors and way showers for younger souls. And I know there's going to be both on this, seeing the recording on a replay or seeing the live. You're not worse or better for being either one. Everyone started out as a younger soul. Everyone started out as a younger soul. So it doesn't matter where you are. I'm saying if you are an awakening master, you want to learn how to dig into your triggers and eliminate them, because that's just keeping you in a looping pattern, and it's going to keep you repeating the same lessons over and over and over and over until you learn how to eliminate those triggers. So if you get triggered by all kinds of stuff or triggered by certain people and you just can't get over it and you're just playing the same scenario over and over and over, particularly if you're an awakening master, you got to learn how to deal with that. Or you're just going to be, it's your business. It's your life again. You can do whatever you want. You can do 5 more lifetimes trying to figure it out. Or you can just really look into it and try to figure out how to do that in this lifetime. So, Kanisha, I'm definitely an awakening master. Yay. Seems like I've had a lot in 4 years. Yeah, right? So what I was going to say is there is something on my website. I teach something called Theta Healing. And when I heard the word Theta Healing, I had no idea what Theta Healing was, THETA. I had no idea what it was, but it was like that zinging in my head or that zinging in my spirit that said, ding, 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 this is for you. And I was like, I don't even know what Theta Healing is. What is Theta Healing? And I just heard like my team tell me, go find a Theta Healing instructor near you, and this is before everything was being done online. It was only in person. This is before, the big virus happened. So I found an instructor that's another story in itself. She was amazing. And I learned Theta Healing, and now I teach Theta Healing. And Theta Healing, I set the intention that the students who come to my Theta Healing class are awakening masters, because it's for you to learn how to completely overcome your triggers and heal yourself, eliminate beliefs that you're holding on to that are holding you back, fears, resentments, regret, unforgiveness, looking at trauma you're carrying from a past life, looking at patterns that you are still perpetrating from your DNA, from your ancestors. It delves into all of that. It also includes like physical healing, mental healing, emotional healing. Like, it is intense. But you learn a method on how to eliminate your triggers. It is so powerful, and it teaches you that anytime you have a trigger come up in your life, how to instantly notice it and how to right there on the spot deal with it and get it away. And it's called the digging session. You dig until you get it dug out. Like if you were digging a weed in a garden and the root goes way down, but it's finding out where the root is. And so that's what Theta Healing teaches you. So like today I was walking my dog, and it was actually about an hour and a half walk. And when I was walking my dog, I did a digging session on something that's just kind of been a thorn in my side. Not a person, it's actually just a situation that's really been a thorn in my side for years now. And I just didn't have any love about it. And I was resistant about it, and it triggered me. And it was just an ugly thorn in my side. And without going into a lot of detail, I'm going to teach a little bit about this at another time, what my higher self showed me, because it was amazing. But I dug it out, and I walked out of that, I'll call it a digging session with my higher self on this walk with my dog, having a totally new perspective on this entire situation that has literally been a thorn in my side for probably like 7 years. And I just never dealt with it. I just would not deal with it, like my perspective and my emotions. And it just always just really caused me so much stress and just a lot. Anyway, I walked out with a totally new perspective of it. And I'm actually so happy that this situation has been in my life, because I got to see clearly the lessons that I'm learning from it and all of the incredible gold that I'm getting from this experience. And I am beyond grateful, like beyond grateful. And if I'm not going to get into it, because I'm not going to tell everyone like my personal stuff like that, but if you all were dealing with this, you'd be just like beside yourselves too. Like you'd be just like, it could really cause people to become very depressed and really beside themselves, like just really upset. So the fact now that I feel so much gratitude, I was actually crying. My dog and I stopped in the woods for a little bit because he always drags me into the woods. He wants to be in nature. So he dragged me into the woods, and I was leaning up against this tree, and I just had tears pouring from my face as I was thinking about my gratitude and this whole new perspective that I have about this thing in my life. And I was like, wow, I never in a million years imagined that I would ever feel this way about this situation, but I'm beyond grateful. So it's really amazing. Tell us an alien story. Oh, dynamic energy healing. I'm a theta healer. I'd love to know who your teacher was. Yeah, Victoria Rader, but she doesn't teach anymore. She's not a teacher anymore. She went on to other things. It's in the spiritual realm, but so anyway, if any of you are awakening masters, I set the intention that those are the people who find my Theta Healing class. So you can always go to my website, wokelightworker.com. I have classes starting January 26th. The first 4 levels is what you want to do. And I'm sure dynamic energy healing would amen that, because without those first 4 levels, going through something called you and creator, you just really don't know enough to really do the deep healing that you need to do in your life. And she's agreeing. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And so that's why I teach the first 4 levels. And I tell everyone, please just take my word. You do not want to do this unless you can take all 4 levels, because it just really is not going to be, you're not going to get enough. It should be one 10-day class, but it's not. It's only 10 days, guys, but it should be one 10-day class, but whatever, it's not. But anyway, you can go to wokelightworker.com and look at my classes that start the end of January to learn how to totally eliminate triggers from your life, because it is amazing when you learn how to do these digging sessions. Like I just told you my story of how I totally changed my perspective on this. And anyway, okay, so let me get back to my higher self hypnosis stories. For anyone who's just joining us, this woman has a mom who's wretched and awful and terrible and causes her a lot of misery. She's negative, she's nasty, she's really, really mean. So my client, I asked her higher self, are there any energetic cords connecting her to her mom? And her higher self, again, the answer surprised me, which tells me it's not always one way. With anything spiritual, never say it's always this way or it's always like that. because before I heard this answer, I had a belief, bad, right? Having beliefs. I had a belief that we never should have energetic cords connected. If we are an adult, we should never have energetic cords connected to our parents. That we're not children anymore. We don't need cords connected to them or any other adults unless it's our spouse and, of course, our minor children. But anyone else, we just really don't need cords, and we should be cutting those cords every day. We should be cutting cords. Like, that was my thinking. This is the answer her higher self gave, and this surprised me. And I love in these sessions, and I'm very open to it, I love having my consciousness expanded and being shown that a previous belief is not true. Like, I actually enjoy that. So her higher self said, yes, there are cords connecting her to her mother, but they cannot be cut until her mother is gone. So remember, her mom has a terminal illness and her mother's living with her now, making life very, very difficult for my client. But they cannot be cut until her mother is gone, until her mother dies. And I said in my mind, oh, I love this. I was just proven wrong, right? Like, my belief was proven wrong that we should never have cords connected to a parent when we're an adult. So then her higher self, I said, of course I said, how come? And her higher self said, the small amount of empathy and caring and concern, and we're calling my client Jenny. Okay, that's a fake name. The amount of caring and concern and empathy that Jenny still has for her mother would not allow her patience that she is able to use with her. That's kind of jumbled. So let me keep going on. So she is saying, okay, this is my mom, so I have to have patience because it's my mom. But if those cords were cut, her mom would be like, F this be. Right. And those were the actual words that were used, but F this be. And she would kick her out of her house, and she would not be taking care of her mom. She would literally leave her all alone to experience the end of her life with this terminal illness completely alone. So those cords are keeping Jenny, my client, able to care for her mother until her mother is gone. And again, as a reminder, Jenny is not her real name. And I do have permission from all my clients to share stories about their sessions. The mother does not have anybody that is willing to take on her nasty, negative baggage. And if that energetic cord was cut, Jenny would completely let her mother go too. The mother needs her and her family to take care of her. And Jenny knows this. And on a soul level, Jenny was willing to take this on. But there is a very thin cord that is keeping Jenny able to handle this amount of negative emotional baggage. And the only reason she's doing it is because it's her mother. So there you go. I got to be proven wrong that there's never an instance you should have energetic cords connected to a parent, because that is the only thing. Having her be able to honor her soul agreements to take care of her mother, because her human self would be like, you're on the street. It would not take care of this. What did her higher self say? Nasty, negative woman. All this nasty, negative baggage from this woman. So, let me see what Lewis, Tracy, I'm sorry, but I was looking at your website and your one video about gray alien on Mars. Oh, Lewis, you got to watch that one. On my YouTube channel, guys, I have a session where I read the session because she didn't give me permission to post the video, but I read the notes I took from the session, and she was a gray alien on Mars. I think that's the one where there's one of them where she helped abduct humans. So I don't know if that's the same session, but if it's the same session I'm thinking of, I read it. But it's on my YouTube channel. So go check it out. That's a really, really interesting session. I have a lot more sessions, you guys, on my Patreon channel, a lot more alien stories. on my Patreon channel. You just have to be a member. It's like $22 a month. And, but I have a lot more sessions out there on that. I had a dream where they took me to Mars. So that's interesting, Lewis. And they were tall grays. Oh, so yeah, the grays have actually a lot to do with Mars, you guys. The grays had a lot to do with Mars. They were the ones who went in after Mars was destroyed. And I had a session where a client was one of the gray aliens who went in when Mars was actually being bombed and destroyed. And the gray aliens were slipping in and out of portals, and they were going in and cleaning out and taking out all the technology and returning it to the reptilians. So, oh, you said that was your dream? Yeah, that was my client. So she was one of the gray aliens that was going in and helping to go in and out portals, cleaning out the technology. So yeah, interesting. And I have a lot of history on Mars myself. Like I have seen past lives of me on Mars. And then I had a session with a client one time. This was maybe a year and a half ago. And when I asked her higher self, how do her and I know each other? Because I feel like on a soul level, her and I know each other. And her higher self said that her and I were childhood friends on Mars. So that was interesting. I've been abducted, but no memory. I had quantum healing for the trauma. Nice. A tall gray in uniform stopped me from astral plane and made me go back. Yeah. So there are guards out there when you astral travel, and you really need to kind of know what you're doing when you're astral traveling. There's a woman on YouTube, and if I think of her name, I will give it to you, but she does a lot of astral traveling, and she talks about these guards who she's run into several times because she tries to eavesdrop on really important high-level meetings between world leaders in her astral traveling, and they often have. And she has tried to eavesdrop and has been successful on some occasions, eavesdropping on meetings where world leaders are meeting with reptilians, because that stuff happens. These world leaders, they meet with these reptilians, these beings who live in inner earth. And so she has actually astral traveled, or I guess you want to call it astral travel. What do you call that? Remote viewing. She's done remote viewing to listen in on some of these, but sometimes she gets stopped by these guards who are out there. So you just kind of got to know what you're doing. No, her name's not Elizabeth. It's something else. If I think of it, I can see her face in front of me, the woman who does these. She did one where it was with a meeting between Trump and some of the other reptilians, and she heard the meeting, and Trump was working with these reptilians and trying to negotiate with them to slow things down and stop the terror and all of this. And I'm not sure if she's from California. I'll try to think of her name, you guys. Sorry. Otherwise, Lewis, email me at tracy@wokelightworker.com. And then when I think of her name, I will email you back because I can see her face in my mind. Okay. Let me get back to my story though. Okay. So my client's mom, can we ask to remember our dreams? Yeah. And if it's relevant when you're doing a higher self hypnosis session, if it's relevant, your higher self will tell you. But sometimes the answer when you do higher self hypnosis is that's not relevant. Let's focus on what's going on right here, right now, because you've got this and this and this and this and this and this and this to work on. So your higher self oftentimes doesn't want you going off and looking for shiny objects. They want you to just be focused on what you have to do. For example, I had a session the other day, and my client had all these different things to work on in her life. And one of her questions in her session toward the end was, has she had any lives on other planets? And if so, does she consider herself to be from another race? And which race? And what can you tell us about that alien race? And her higher self said, yes, the answer is yes. She does consider herself to be a particular alien race that just came here at this time, but I'm not going to give her any information about that because it would just distract her from the tasks we've given her in this session. And this should be her focus right now because this is the life she's living. She's not living that life now. She's not like dealing with those things now. This is the life she needs to be focused on. So it's kind of like if you think about lifetime being in the moment, like being in the moment for a particular lifetime. You don't want to be scattered all over chasing all these shiny objects. Just like I found a book in my bookshelf the other day, and it was all about the Anunnaki. And if you don't know what these things are, don't worry about it. Just let it go, let it go. But about the Anunnaki and the end times, and how the Anunnaki, their plan is to completely destroy the planet. And I picked up the book and I was like, oh, I meant to get back to this book and I'd love to really get into this book and read it. And I heard my higher self say, nope, we're not going to do that. That's a shiny object. That's not going to help you on your journey here. It's not going to help you in your work at all. Put it back. So I put it back on my bookshelf. And I did hear my higher self say, someday later, but it's just not for now. So, and that's exactly what her higher self said too. She can know all about this, but it's just not for now. It's just not for now. Have I heard of Betty and Barney Hill? I did. Long time ago. When I say a long time ago, it was probably like 7 or 8 years ago, I think, if that's the same name I heard, but I don't. Were they the ones that were abducted? Moon Mountain Fairy is asking that question. I think they're the ones that were abducted, right? Anyway, so let me get back to this session. So her higher self said, nope, you can't cut the cords between her and her mom because that's the only thing. Yes, in New Hampshire. Yeah, I did hear about them. So the cord is the only thing that's keeping her mom in her house. Okay. So then I said, other than patience, what other lessons is Jenny meant to be learning from her relationship with her mother? And her higher self said because in every challenge, every difficulty, there's always lessons. And you can choose to either be a victim and go, oh, I can't believe I had to go through that. That was so awful. And why did I have to experience that? Here's the famous question, right? Why me? Why me? Why did that have to happen to me? Instead of completely shifting it. And if you are an awakening master, you need to become this life or any other, you will become. You should learn, thank you for the rose, Lewis. You should learn how to transmute that and totally change it to the perspective of, no, wait, what are the lessons in this for me? And just focus on the lessons and what you can be grateful for. So other than patience, I said, what is she learning from her mother? And her higher self said she has learned to be a better mother. Because when you have an example of a horrible, awful mother, then, and you don't want to be that way, it teaches you, okay, I'm going to do the opposite. And that's like how it was with me and my mom. I saw a lot of things my mom did, I have adopted that were good things. So it's like going to a smorgasbord, right? An all you can eat buffet. It's like, I get to pick all the good things and put them on my plate. And I'm going to leave the other things that I don't like. I'm not going to put them on my plate. So yeah, Elizabeth said, me too, opposite of my mom. Now, if we are honest with ourselves, there are things that we do take from our parents, our mothers. Usually, if you're honest with yourself, there's usually some good. I mean, unless they are truly a reptilian narcissist in a human meat suit, which does happen, guys. Thank you, Izzy Cool. Oh, that's a black cat. Thank you for the black cat. So she learned to be a better mother, and she's literally the polar opposite of her mother. And this is one of the lessons that she's been learning throughout her life. She does not want to be like her mother. And I'm reading the notes off my screen, guys. Let me see. And it's the soul that she has that's very loving and very beautiful and opposite of her mom's. And it's a strong lesson because her mother's energy is very, very heavy. And what it's doing in this lifetime is showing her that she can make the choice. So we can choose to either become a victim and be like, oh, that's just the way I learned it. That's the way I grew up. That's how I am. Or we can be the one that says, nope, the buck stops here. I'm going to be in my self-power, self-empowerment, and I'm going to make a different choice because everything's our choice. We're never a victim, ever, ever, ever a victim. Okay. So this is one of the lessons they brought into this lifetime, having this difficult person that she has no way to get rid of in order to decide, oh, sent a donut and a tiny dino, tiny diny. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Izzy. Those are cute. Cute gifts. Thank you. These are the lessons that were brought into this lifetime, that she has this mother that she has no way to get rid of in order to force her how to decide what kind of person she wants to be. So her mother was purposely chosen for her for this lifetime to force her to decide which way she was going to go, to see if she was going to go the higher frequency way or if she was going to go the lower frequency way. Oh, Linda said she saw a guard too when she was, astral traveling. Yeah, they're out there. They're out there. That's why I'm not afraid of them, but I just really, I don't know, maybe I do have a little bit of fear. Let's be honest, Tracy. Okay, maybe I have a little bit of fear. I really just don't want to come across one of those guards. I mean, I can handle reptilians, removing negative entities, dark entities. What do you want to call them? Demons, whatever. Like I can deal with that stuff in my sessions, and I do all the time. And it doesn't even faze me, but I don't want to come across one of those guards when I'm astral traveling or when I'm remote viewing. So yeah. Maybe I need to work on that. Okay. What else did her higher self say? So this is forcing her to decide what kind of person she's going to be. Now that she's older and realizing that she has more control over herself, she's able to learn the lesson that she really has to make her own choices and be her own person in this lifetime. So actually having her mom closer to her, which feels terrible for the family, has actually helped her jump into a very big decision that she needs to work really, really hard on her inner self so she can make choices about how she wants her life to go. It just kind of made that saying come to my mind. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, right? Blissful empowerment. I did see that you booked a consult call with me. It flashed on the top of my screen that I got a notice about an appointment, consultation call with me. Awesome. Yeah. If you guys want to, if you're interested in seeing if it's a good fit for you, I never pressure anyone. I only want people who they're supposed to do this. So if you want to learn more, see if it would be a good fit for you. And I do kind of like a little test with you on the phone to kind of see if it would be a good fit for you. Then just schedule a free 15-minute phone consultation with me. And you can just find that at wokelightworker.com, or the link is in my TikTok bio. wokelightworker.com. But yeah, a free 15 minutes and we talk and I'll tell you about how the session goes. There's a lot on my website, but I'll tell you how the session goes, the different kind of questions you can ask. And I want to know what you want to find out from your higher self. So I said, so it's pushing Jenny inward to do her inner work, right? And her higher self said, yes. And her soul is very tired. It went into this life tired of the same lessons. And she was given instances in this life to really push her to make different decisions so that the next life won't be the same revolving lifetime as she has been having, or the same things over and over that she's been having. It's like her now jumping off of a cliff into the ocean. Like it's over, it's done. If I'm able to pop out of the water, then I'm going to be good to go. So this was really her mom moving in. Talk about everything having a reason, right? That's overused phrase. Everything happens for a reason. Yeah, and Elizabeth, I have an appointment with you in January. Yes, you do. You do, Elizabeth. I know. So everything happens for a reason. Even this woman's mom getting this terminal disease, which forced her to have to move in with my client, her daughter. And she's a nasty woman, according to her higher self. And my client, she's really nasty, really negative. But it's forcing my client to really do the inner work and decide what kind of person she wants to be and how she's going to be when she's faced with this kind of negativity and this kind of pressure. Because how can you live with someone like that and not lose your shiz all the time? Like, I don't know. I probably would have choked my mom out, like, if that were me, but she's not choking her mom out. So she's obviously more spiritual than I am in that way, because I just wouldn't. But it's really forcing her to decide what kind of person that she's going to be. Linda said on YouTube, she said, what's the test? The test that I do when people get on the phone with me and do a consultation call, I just give you a little visualization, and I want to make, it's not a big deal. I just give you a little scenario to visualize because I want to make sure that you can visualize. So before you can do a session with me, and people think visualization is way more difficult and it requires way more than what it is. They're like, oh, I can't visualize. And I go, well, picture this for me. If I ask you to close your eyes and see yourself walking down this beautiful garden path, and all around you on both sides, there's all these wildflowers of all these different colors, and you can smell them in the air. The air is just fragrant with all these flowers. There's a light breeze. You can feel it on your face. The sun is shining on your face. You've got a blue sky. There's a few white fluffy clouds in the sky, and way off in the distance, you can see some mountains. Can you see that? Can you imagine that? And if you can imagine that, then that's step one of seeing that, okay, you've got that down. So yes, you've passed the test. Now let's see what other kind of questions you have and what you want to get from your higher self. So you have to do a session with me, you have to be able to imagine that. You have to be able to visualize. And believe it or not everyone can. Some people have blocked themselves from being able to visualize or imagine anything, which I can't relate to that because I have a very vivid imagination. But some people have blocked themselves in it. I don't know why. I think a lot of it probably has to do with past life trauma, where they saw things in a past life and they just decided, or they would see images in their head or have nightmares and things like that. Yeah, like Woob Nut said, I can't visualize. Yeah. So a lot of times I think that might have to do with past life trauma. Not always. I never say never, I never say always. But I think a large part of it has to do with past life trauma, where you just made a vow. Thank you for the rose, blissful empowerment. Thank you. Where you made a vow that you did not want to see replays of some horrible event that happened to you, because maybe it would play over and over in your mind of some really horrendous trauma. And so you made a vow that you were going to just turn those abilities off. And so I think a lot of it has to do with that. So if you have problems visualizing or using your imagination, that would be something for you to go into a meditation and dig up and try to figure out what that is, working with your higher self, working with your spirit team, and figure out what is going on there. What is the root cause of this? Because every single person's higher self that I've ever done a session with and asked if it is something that just happens, and they all have said no. The person has put a block there for some reason, and it's up to them to figure out why they did and what it is, because everyone has the ability to be able to use their imagination and visualize. So, okay. So let me see. Oh, here we go. I said, so in other words, was it by design on a soul level that my client Jenny's mother would be this difficult and this negative and heavy in order to drive Jenny to the point of making her changes once and for all? And her higher self said, yes, this situation needed to happen, where the mom needed to be brought back into her life as an older adult, where Jenny has more control over her emotions. Because, when you're a kid, you don't have the control. Mom can kind of a mom like that would ride roughshod right over you. And you either shut up or she's going to spank you or ground you or whatever it is. And you have to keep your mouth shut. But as an adult, it's her house and she's an adult and she has more control over her emotions. She did cut off her mom for quite some time. So she has been away from her mom enough to come into her own strength and power and decision-making for her own life and not allow the negative beliefs and negativity her mom ingrained in her as a child. So when her mom came back as an adult and a sick mother, Jenny had still not learned the lessons yet. She still hadn't learned them yet. Okay. She's teetering, just not as much. And her mom brought her that push she needed to stand up for herself and decide, look, I don't want this anymore. So what a huge favor and teacher her mom is by coming into her life, having this terminal illness, being forced to live with her because it forces my client, like, you can't just ignore me now. Like, before you pass from this life, client Jenny, you're going to have to deal with this because I'm making myself so in a position where I have to have you. I need you. And so now you're going to have to face it. You can't run away from this healing any longer. So I think that's pretty awesome that her and her mom both have that kind of soul agreement, right? So again, you could look at this whole situation like, wow, like, what did she do to deserve having a mom like that? Oh, she's such a victim of this terrible mom and all this stuff. But higher self, every time in these sessions, guys, and if we learn how to live as our higher self, from the perspective of our higher self, we can look at all of these things from a completely different perspective, not one that our human conscious mind devised as the story, because that's always going to be the victim and somebody's always going to be wrong and somebody's always going to be right. But from a higher level perspective, from a spiritual perspective, where there's lessons for both souls, there's growth, there's love, there's understanding, there's partnership on the spiritual side. Her and her mom are partners in this lesson. Her mom's learning things. Do I know what the lessons are her mom is learning? No. Do I care? Actually, no, because she's not my client. So it's not our business what lessons her mom is learning. And if my client, this client didn't ask, but if my client ever did want to dive into that, I would let them know that's really not our business what lessons mom is learning. Let's just focus on you, because that's just a way of deflecting. Like, okay, well, she's learning things too. That's the ego wanting to make sure that mom's learning stuff too. Because if I have to learn stuff, mom should have to learn stuff. So no, let's just focus on us. It's always an us thing. And let's just focus on us. And again, if you feel like you're an ascended master, that's where you want to be. It's always focusing on me, my journey, and what's in it for me, my self-love, my self-worth. Because when you're good, you're sending out this radiant energy to help others be their authentic, loving, worthy selves, and to get out of the mist or the fog of living in the illusion that our consciousness, our egos put on us in this lifetime. Sorry, my daughter just walked in. Let me see what some of the questions are. Oh, Izzy, cool. Thank you for being here, hopping off. Let me see. Yeah, she said, I can't, Regal Poison said, I can't wait to save up and do this one day. I want a reading so bad. I started offering shorter sessions for a less price. So if you go to my website, wokelightworker.com, you can read about that and see. So instead of doing my long traditional session, that's like 6 hours long, 3 hours one day, 3 hours the next day, you can do the shorter one. You can do the express session. So you might want to check into that. And then we have payment plans and stuff like that. Let me see. I'm so happy for her evolution. Let me see. There's a reason for everything is what helps me get through life. Regal Poison said, yeah, totally. Exactly. Okay. So what's next? When her mom was brought back into her life with all of her negativity, Jenny, my client, again, fake name, started listening to her mom say those negative things and feeling the fear again, like she did when she was a little girl. So it triggered all that fear again when her mom first came back into her house. Okay. But it snapped her out of it. Like, wait a minute. Why am I living in fear? I'm a grown woman and I'm going to treat my mother differently than she treated me. And that attitude, that change in my client, Jenny, got the ball rolling and deciding that she needed to make the changes and decide which direction she wanted her life to go. So again, she was thrown right back into those feelings of fear, like when she was a kid and her mom was a tyrant. And then she realized, wait a minute, I'm a grown woman. Like, what am I afraid of? Like, there's this frail old woman who's living with me with a terminal illness. Like, what am I afraid of? I'm in control of my life, my emotions. This is my house. And she really learned how to take her own power into her hands. Okay. So that was that one thing. Let me see what else. I'm going to jump into talking about her career now. Okay. So this, one of her things is I hop from job to job because I can never be happy in a job. Totally shifting gears here, guys. I can never be happy because I just hop from job to job. And it looks like when I get to a job, I'm like all excited about it, all excited about it. But then the novelty of it wears off. And then I get like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And then she looks at another job and goes, oh, I think the grass is greener over there. And then she hops to that job and she gets over there and she realizes, oh, this is not what I thought it would be either. Like, why did I leave that last job? Now I'm just a total job hopper. And then she was beating herself up about this, about just not being able to be happy in any job. And her husband is a type of person who's like, you find a company and you stay with it and you work at it your whole life. Like, that's life. Like, that's the dream. And she doesn't feel this way. She doesn't think the same way. She doesn't want to have that kind of, career at the same company for her whole life. And so she felt really alone in this. So her higher self said it's her low self-esteem. She's hopping from job to job because she doesn't know how to be content and happy. So again, she's hopping from job to job because she doesn't know how to be content and happy. And it's just barely evolving for her now, just in the last few months, where it's almost been like a light bulb moment. Like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I can decide on my own what I want and how I want it to be. I don't need to. And then her higher self paused and said, what she was doing was convincing herself that the next thing would be better than this one. She did that over and over. And she just realized that she's not going to do that anymore, just within the last few months. She left the last job that she thought she loved so much. She made good money. It was exciting. But they treated her super toxic at that job. Super toxic. And her higher self confirmed that they were toxic. She knew this is not what I want, not what I prefer, but she felt guilty that she left because the pay was so good. And it was all about that. And she was struggling for almost a month to get herself out of that. In the last few months, it's just kind of washed away from her. What's funny about this is it's literally now in progress for her to make the changes. It's taken all this time to realize, and it's barely begun happening for her now. So it was a process. She just kind of kept going. You guys can relate to looping patterns. We just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. Like, why does this same thing keep happening to me? Because she wasn't learning the lesson. So if you find yourself in looping patterns or things happening to you over and over and over again, it's asking yourself the question, what am I not learning? Like, there's something in this for me to learn. I'm not getting it. Like, what am I not getting? And sitting down, just quieting your mind and just connecting. How do you connect to your higher self? You start talking and you listen and you trust what you hear. And if it's loving and if it's supportive and encouraging, trust that that's your spirit team, your higher self, your guides talking to you, and go with it. Okay? It's like a fake it till you make it thing. Just go with it as long as it's positive. We're not listening for that inner critic. That's the ego voice. We're not listening for that. So as long as it's positive, we're good to go. So if you're finding yourself in the same thing like she did, in these repetitive patterns, just stop and go, wait a minute. I'm getting dizzy on this merry-go-round. My head's spinning. I'm tired of this same pattern. What am I not learning? What are the lessons in this for me? And how do I learn them? What do I need to know to break out of this? Because until it comes to your conscious awareness, you're not going to change things and break up those patterns, those habits. Blissful empowerment, you're helping me so much. Oh, awesome. Yes. Nice. I love it. Okay. So, and guys, I apologize. So if you guys are not on my email list, get on my email list. You can go to wokelightworker.com and just go to the contact me page, get on my email list, because I notify everyone on my email list when I'm going to be going live. So you know when I'm going to be going live. My plan is to go live again next week, because I actually didn't mean to be talking about this session tonight. I meant to talk about a different session tonight, which is hugely, hugely fascinating, like that one too. But then I accidentally clicked on this one and started getting into it and decided I can't leave now. So the really, really other really interesting one I just finished last week, I'm going to talk about that one next week. And it's like, I'll give you a sneak peek on that one. That one is about a woman who I told her that I was going to be sharing this on YouTube and TikTok live, and she was fine with it. Her big thing, two big things: career. She's feeling unfulfilled in a career. And the second thing is, do I leave my husband? And they've been married for a long time and been together since they were basically kids. So, as boyfriend, girlfriend. So that's a really interesting one. And hearing what her higher self had to say and why her higher self said what it did, I think is going to be super helpful to a lot of people, especially if you find yourself in a marriage like I did, my second marriage. You find yourself in a marriage and you're like, I don't know if I'm supposed to stay with this person. I kind of feel like I'm not. And you're really just kind of torn. I'm going to talk about that next week. So I can't look at my calendar because I'm on TikTok on my phone and my calendar is on my phone. But get on my email list, guys, at wokelightworker.com, because I'm going to send out reminders telling you. I don't bombard you guys in your email like ever. I literally just tell you when I'm going live, or if I have a super important message, which is very rare, then I'll send you an email. But you're not going to get a bunch of emails from me. And I'm going to make an announcement really quick because I just forgot. So I just put a page live on my website. Actually, someone else did it for me. But It went live today on my website. If you click under Higher Self Courses at wokelightworker.com, you can be the first ones to sign up for my free masterclass on January 8th. It's a 2-hour masterclass, and we're actually going to do work in it. And it's all about how to overcome fear. And how do you overcome fear? I'm going to teach you a technique to work on any fear that comes up in your life so that you can suck the energy out of it, so that you don't have to walk around fearing this or that or whatever it is that might come up in your life. So go to wokelightworker.com, go under courses, Higher Self Courses, it's called. And then there's a free master class called Overcoming Fear, and it's on January 8th. So you can sign up for it. And that's a free one for 2 hours. So it's going to be good. My higher self told me it wasn't even on my radar to even do a master class like anytime in the near future, because I'm busy writing a couple of books right now. But my higher self dropped it in my head one night a couple of weeks ago and was like, boom, this is class and you're going to teach a free master class in January. And I was like, okay. But I'm writing a book right now, guys. Also, if you get on my mailing list, I'll let you know, my email list, I'll let you know when it's out. I think it's going to be amazing. It's all about how to have a pain-free labor and delivery. So if you know anyone who's going to have a baby who would be open to that, I mean, I don't know what woman would not be open to having a pain-free labor and delivery. I don't know. Maybe they want the full experience. I don't know why you would, or if you plan on having a baby. Hi, Brenda. Or if you plan on having a baby. So that's my book coming out, and it's all about how to have a pain-free labor and delivery. I'm really, really, really hoping to have it out by first of the year, but it looks like it's probably going to be January now because we're already into December, but it's taking longer than I thought it would. So anyway, get on my email list at wokelightworker.com. Okay, so let me get back to this session and talk about what are the actions. Remember, we were talking about my client, we're calling her Jenny, and why she was hopping from job to job to job to job, and she could never be happy. And she was always thinking the grass was greener. Thank you, Elizabeth. She was always thinking the grass was going to be greener at the next job. And so I said, well, what are some action steps she can take to find something that will make her happy? So once she's there, she can remain happy and not feel like she has to keep jumping from job to job. Her higher self said she needs to be grateful. And at the same time, she has to find something that doesn't completely suck. So be grateful. So those are the two keys, right? Be grateful and find something that doesn't completely suck, like something that you would actually relatively enjoy. She can't find she can't find a job that she just hates and take it just for the money, because that's not going to make her happy, her higher self. She needs to be grateful. And then let me see what else her higher self. Let me skip ahead a little bit. Yeah, that was basically the message in that. So find something that makes her, that she could be happy doing, and be grateful and focus on being grateful and gratitude for that job. Okay. Let me see. I'm just moving ahead a little bit, guys. Let me see, because there's more in her session I know that I wanted to share. So sometimes in my higher self hypnosis sessions, I shouldn't say sometimes, we do a lot of downloads. Okay, so downloads are when I ask the higher self to download new beliefs, download definitions, to download feelings, to download just something that you might look at as being like an affirmation. So one example might be if someone doesn't know what self-love is, because they just don't know, like they might think they know what self-love is, but they really don't. And so I might say, would it benefit her to have you download Creator's definition of self-love into her, and then have her definition that's already in her brain, have her definition match creator's definition, and tell me what that looks like as you download that into her. And so that's the reason when people do a session with me, they have to be able to visualize or use their imagination, because I want you to describe, what does it look like to see your higher self giving you a download of self-love? Like, what does that look like? So the client might say something like, oh, okay. So I had a client recently who said it was almost like a thread going from creator to their brain. And it just looked like it was just like a feeding tube, where it was just like this little bubble. And it was the definition of self-love. And it was like a little bubble that just kind of went bloop, and it just plopped it in her brain. Not everyone's looks like that. All of them look different. But whatever it looks like to you, I want you to describe, what does that look like to receive that? And so it's fun to see what all these different definitions and downloads look like. So for this particular client, she wanted this definition. She said, she wanted me to ask, would it benefit her to have you download in her creator's definition of an exquisite, abundant life, and the belief in her that she deserves and is worthy of living an exquisite, abundant life? Can you do that now and tell us what that looks like as you do it? Right? So let me see. Wow, love it. So amazing. So this is what she saw and channeled, because you're channeling your higher self when you do these. I teach you, how do you channel your higher self? It's not difficult, okay? But I teach you how to do that. So this was the answer I got. A bright light is lifting her up in the air in a tube of light. It's a huge cocoon, and it's going to keep her feeling abundant, grateful in everything she does. But she needs to make sure she does her work too. Her life is exquisite. You have so many things that happen for you, her higher self said to her. People out there can't take a shower. There's some people in the world that can't take a shower. They can't go to the fridge, and they can't grab a water. Her life is exquisite, and she needs to appreciate how she has gotten herself this far. Those little things she starts to appreciate are going to make her life better and better and better. Her soul, I highlighted this, her soul is dying to get out of this rut where they feel like they're jumping from lifetime to lifetime to the same lesson that hasn't been learned yet. Whoa. I highlighted it because I pay special attention to these types of things. Her soul is saying, and I'm going to tell you guys how the soul fits into the higher self. Give me one sec. Her soul is dying to get out of this rut where they, meaning the soul feels like it's jumping from lifetime to lifetime to the same lesson that hasn't been learned yet. And I hear this often in the session I'm going to share with you guys next week. It's the same thing. It was the same thing. I think her soul, her higher self said it's like 7 lifetimes. She's been going through the same lesson. So your soul can get tired. Your soul can get really tired and feel like you're in a rut, because we come down here and we have free will, and our free will says, yeah, don't care about what the soul plan is. I want to do things my way, and I'm going to listen to my ego instead of listening to my higher self. So I'm going to tell you guys quickly, what is the difference between, or how does the soul fit in with the higher self? So this is what I have learned in doing my work. So we have our soul, and our soul sends different fractals or fragments of itself into different lifetimes. So it's like the soul, or you can call it the oversoul. The oversoul fractals itself off and sends different parts of it out to have all these different experiences. Some of the parts are still in the spirit realm or non-physical. Some go to other planets. Some are animals. Some are people. And then there's you. You're one of the fractals of your oversoul. But all of these different fractals have their own middleman. Let's just call it a middleman. It's not a man, but let's just call it a middleman. The middleman is your higher self. So the middleman is the one, the higher self is the one who is the voice. Let's say here's you, your personality, your personality here on this planet. And then you've got, like, imagine your higher self is here, and then just above that you've got your soul. So your higher self here, and then your soul. Your higher self is like the voice for your soul. So your higher self is the one that gives you the more detailed instructions on, okay, I got the overview, like from the president of the company. Let's just say I got the overview from the president of the company. This is the big goal of what we want to accomplish. So when you work for a corporation, you know this stuff happens, right? We've got the big goal. We want to make $20 million more this year than we made last year. And we're going to do it by increasing this and doing this. And we're going to do this and we're going to do this. That's their plan. That's their goal, their plan of the corporation. Thank you, Kay, for the rose. That's the goal, the plan for this corporation. But who actually carries out the plan? It's not the president of the company. They just kind of look at everything and monitor it, and they get reports on how things are going. The ones who carry it out are the managers, the ones who are lower. And then who does the actual work is the worker bee, right? The person sitting in the cubicle doing the work. So I never thought of this analogy before. This just came to me. So I love this, though. So if you imagine your oversoul is like the president of the company, it's not the president, but we're just using this analogy. Imagine it's like the president of the company setting the tone, or the soul plan, the plan for the whole soul, for all of the managers and all of the departments. Let's say all of the departments are the fractals of your soul. You've got all these departments, and the president is like, okay, I want this department to do this department to do this department to do this department to do this. And it's kind of overseeing all of that, setting the plan for each department. And then all these department heads, that's your higher self. And that department head goes, okay, guys, we're going to do this. We're going to change the hours on the schedule. We're going to put in 10-hour days. And we're going to do this. And because here's the goals. And when you are writing a report, I'm going to teach you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it so you know how to get this done, so you can help us accomplish the goals of the entire company. And so your higher self is the department manager. And so the department manager knows what the overall goal is and knows how you fit into the overall plan of your soul. But it's a lot closer to you and will help manage the details of your job or manage the details of your life if you listen. So you could be the rebellious employee that just goes, I'm just going to sit here and put my feet up on my desk and I'm not going to do anything because I'm going to do it my way. And then you don't contribute to the overall goal of the company or the soul plan. Or you could be the worker that's like, okay, department manager, how do we do this? And you dig in and you listen to the voice of your department manager telling you how to do your job and all the steps involved and how to do it. And then that way, yes, your higher self is your intuition. Yes. I'd love to hear what my higher self is trying to tell me. Just worried hypnotism won't work with me, or I won't remember what my higher self said. Okay, I'll address that in a little bit, Cecilia, on YouTube. So that's what our higher self is. And our higher self is the one, I call it like a GPS in the sky, so that my monitor keeps going off and it leaves me dark. It's like your GPS in the sky. And if you learn how to listen to your higher self, to your spirit guides, you will have so much direction for your life. But we are really stubborn. Like, I have a husky who's probably going to walk in my room any minute because he's growling at the door right now. And they are the most stubborn dogs in the whole world. Like, by far the most stubborn dogs ever. And they will absolutely want to do everything their way. And that's how we are. We're just like huskies. Like, we can be super stubborn and we just want to do it our way. And we're not open to even listening or learning what our higher self is and listening and learning and hearing that voice. Because we're just like, well, I know how to do this. But really, our ego mind, our persona in this life is just running on programs and beliefs of things we've learned outside of us. So you have this experience A. There's my husky walking in. Come here, baby. We have experience A. And because of experience A, it has taught us life isn't safe. It's taught us, lesson B, lesson C, lesson D. And we put those away in our subconscious mind and go, got that filed away for future reference. Those become beliefs or programs that are now dictating how we act. And we accumulate these like crazy. We accumulate them over our whole lives. We are accumulating new beliefs, new beliefs, new beliefs, new beliefs. And that is what is running. That is what is running our actions. And so instead of having our higher self and our spirit team being the one to guide and direct our actions, we're allowing other people's behaviors and treatment of us and things that happened in this earthly plane with other egos that we interact with to have their beliefs and programs in our mind, and that's running us. So we can be really, really stubborn and decide that, well, I got my life, I know how to do it, and I'm going to chase money, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to chase love, I'm going to chase relationships, whatever it is, because that's what I want. I think that's what's going to make me happy, is having that relationship. I think that's what's going to make me happy, is having that particular amount of money or that particular job, and that's where I'm going to find fulfillment. And our higher self just kind of sits back. I think they just get a bowl of popcorn and they just watch the show. Your higher self is like, okay, I'll be here if you need me. Because apparently you've got this all figured out. And it just lets us until we get to the point where, you know what they say when, I know you guys have probably all heard this about an alcoholic, they have to hit rock bottom. It's like that in every area of our lives. It's not just alcoholism, but they have to hit rock bottom before they decide they're going to change their lives. And that's what happens in our lives. We let ourselves get completely worn out and completely tired on a soul level, on a physical level, on a mental and emotional level of the same repeating patterns or the same abuse, and allowing ourselves to be in these abusive situations or these terrible jobs that just leave us drained, or with different people in our lives who just completely suck the energy right out of us and we have nothing left. And it's like when we get to that point, it's like we're waving the white flag going, okay, I surrender. What can I do? And then the higher self steps up and goes, oh, are you ready to listen now? I'm here. Like, I'm literally here, and I can tell you how to best live your life according to your soul plan and what's going to make you the happiest. Not only you, but everyone around you. And it's going to lift the vibration of the entire planet. So, but we have to be humble. We have to be open. We have to surrender. We have to surrender our beliefs, because those are the things that were keeping us stuck in the old way of life. So if you're not open-minded, if you're not willing to drop those beliefs, then you're going to be having this internal battle going on all the time. That's why I said the Theta Healing classes that I have coming up, again, you can check those on my website, wokelightworker.com, under the courses tab. It's all about, well, not all about, but one of the things it's about is uncovering the beliefs that you're holding, the resentments, the unforgiveness, the regrets, the fears that you have that have been, thank you, Waterwind, for the roses. Oh my gosh, thank you. That have been carrying, thank you, they keep going. Thank you, that have been carrying you to this point so that you can see them, bring them to your consciousness, wipe them out, and start listening and living as your higher self. So do you have to do something to live as your higher self? Yeah, you do. You actually do. You can't just keep doing everything like the way you've always been doing it and think that things are going to change and be different, because they're not. I mean, nothing in life works that way. So there was kind of my little spiel on how does the soul fit into the higher self? And then how does that relate to us? So if you missed it, if you jumped on late and you missed that whole thing, you can always watch the replay of this. It'll be up later tonight on YouTube under my YouTube channel, Woke Lightworker. So you can always go back and listen to this from the beginning, because I'm in the middle of telling about this higher self hypnosis session that I had. So her soul, again, her higher self, thank you for the roses. Again, her higher self said her soul is dying to get out of this rut where it feels like it's jumping from lifetime to lifetime with the same lessons that she hasn't learned yet. So people are like, oh, Melzon, thank you for the bear, 4 bears. So people are like, well, how can I get off of planet Earth? I don't want to keep coming here anymore. And that's not the question. I mean, it is the question, but the answer is you have to learn how you have to master your lessons that your soul came here to learn. So it's just like 4th grade. It might be you sitting as a little 4th grader and you're sitting in your desk and you're like, how do I get out of 4th grade? I don't want to be in 4th grade anymore. And your teacher says, you just need to pass the class and then you get to go to 5th grade. And you're like, oh, is that it? Okay. But you have to sit down and you have to do the work and you have to take the test. You're going to go through tests. You take the test, you do the assignments, you show up, you make the changes, you do all that stuff to get out of 4th grade. And then you're sitting in 5th grade. Thank you, Lewis, for the rose. You're sitting in 5th grade going, I don't want to be here in 5th grade. It's miserable. I don't like being in 5th grade. How do I get out of 5th grade, teacher? And the teacher says, do the work, pass the test, show up for class, and then you can be in 6th grade. So it's literally no different. Thank you for the roses again, Mel Gons. Thank you. So it's the same thing with your life journey. You have to show up. You have to pass the tests. You give yourself these tests. Okay. Just FYI, we give ourselves these tests. And then we get to move on. So, but if you're not doing the work, if you're not showing up, if you're not making different choices, if you're not looking for the highest and best way to live, to conduct your life, to move forward on your spiritual journey, you're going to keep coming back to Earth School, because that's all it is a school. And if you guys know Dolores Cannon, which most people on this call know who Dolores Cannon is, the founder of qhht. She wrote all those books. If you don't know her, go check her out. She's got amazing books, all full of hypnosis stories. And she says the same thing. Earth is a school. Her clients said the same thing my clients say. It is a school. And we come here, we choose, either us or our spirit council, our spirit team, because of our soul journey, we choose to come here because there are certain lessons that we can only learn or learn best by coming to Earth. There are other lessons we learn on other planets and we go there for those lessons. But for certain lessons, we learn them by coming to Earth School. And so that's why we come here. So you can look at this as a prison planet. You can look at it as a terrible experience and you're a victim and you were sent here and I don't want to be here. And that's all your ego mind, your persona mind that's having that victim mentality and not your higher. You're not living as your higher self. If you feel that way, you're not living as your higher self. So that's indicator number 1, that you're not living as your higher self. So meditation is the best way to connect to your spirit team, to your higher self. Clearing your mind. What does that mean? Clearing your mind and listening and talking to your higher self, even if you feel like you're crazy, wacky, walking around the house, talking to something that you can't see. But you talk anyway and you listen for those positive things. You listen for the loving things. You listen for downloads, which is information that comes to you like in a split second. You're like, where did that come from? It's like this whole concept literally just dropped in your head and you're like, oh, wow, where did that come from? Those are downloads from your spirit team, from your higher self, from your soul. Have you seen a spirit guide or is it more communication? I don't see my spirit guides. I can like kind of just tell, I guess, in faith that they're around me, but I hear from them. I hear communication from my spirit team all the time in my head. And are all the links in my bio? Yeah, I have a lot of links in my TikTok bio, guys. There's a link to my YouTube channel. You guys can actually see full sessions on my YouTube channel. So if you want to see what an actual session looks like, go to my YouTube channel. The link is in my TikTok bio. Some people are watching me on YouTube, but it's under the name Woke Lightworker on YouTube. And you can see some actual sessions and how they work. You can hear the person channeling their higher self. You can hear me asking the questions. You can see what it's like for me to ask them about their life. You get to hear about their life, why they're coming for a session. What do they want to learn? You can hear us put the list of questions together. So yeah, all these links are in my bio. And guys, I just created a brand new link for you guys last night. This isn't for me. This is for you guys, right? It's a link on a lot. I have a huge, huge library and I read all the time. And I'm listening to audiobooks all the time. Like that's all I do. When I'm walking my dog or, not working, I've always got something playing in my ears. So I put a list together. The link is in my TikTok bio, a list together of the most influential books in my spiritual journey that have helped me the most. So if you want to look at my recommended book list, some really good ones out there, you can click on my bio in YouTube, in Instagram, and I'm sorry, I don't think my bio is in YouTube, but it's in Instagram and TikTok. You can go to my website if it's up there already under my shop section. And there's a list of all the books that I recommend for your spiritual journey. If you really want to put in the work and you don't want to keep repeating fourth grade over and over and over and over, and you really do want to get out of Earth School and go on to like cool, exciting things, then you got to put in the work. Okay. So how does the session work via Zoom? Like, can you yes. So all my sessions are done online. And like I said, if you guys go to my YouTube channel, you can actually see some of my actual sessions with my clients and you can see how it works, but it works totally fine over webinar. I use WebEx, but it's just like Zoom. It's just better for this. It's called WebEx. Okay. So let me see what her higher self said. She talked, let me see. Oh, we were talking about her higher self downloaded in her creator's definition of an exquisite, abundant life, and that she deserves and is worthy of living an exquisite, abundant life. So her higher self did download that for her. So that's cool. So we can ask in a session for your higher self for all kinds of downloads. And I do that in a lot of sessions. Like I said earlier, we'll download creator's definition of self-love. We'll download creator's definition of self-worth. And that you know what it feels like to be worthy. That you know that you are worthy. That you know that it's possible for you to live knowing that you're worthy. So I had a client the other day who had never, my battery's dying. How is that possible? Oh, I didn't have my phone plugged all the way in. I had a client the other day who has never, ever been shown unconditional love by anyone in her life. She has only been shown conditional love. And she didn't know there was a difference. She said, I never heard of the word conditional love until I did this session with you. She said, I'd heard of the word unconditional love, but I never knew there was conditional love. And so when we talked about her life and I got to know her in preparation for her session, I pointed out all of the people in her life and all of the things that had just given her conditional love. And she was shocked. She was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what unconditional love is and what it means to be unconditionally loved. So I had creator, her higher self, download creator's definition of unconditional love into her. And then she knows what it feels like to be unconditionally loved by the creator of all that is, that she knows how to allow herself to be unconditionally loved, and that she gave her the knowing that she is unconditionally loved by the creator of all that is. Because if you don't have that in your subconscious, how are you going to create your life from a definition that you don't even have? So, and you also learn how to do this in Theta Healing. And that's why I'm saying, check out my website to find out about my Theta Healing classes that start the end of January 2024 at wokelightworker.com under my courses tab. Got my kitty behind me there. One of my cats. I just ended up with 2 new strays, but that's my former one. So downloading different beliefs and definitions, so you now have that as a tool in your toolbox. Because if it wasn't in your toolbox before, how can you use a hammer if you're going to build a deck if you don't have a hammer in your tool belt? Like, you don't have the right tool that you need. How are you going to pound the nails? You're going to try to find a tin can and pound the nails with a tin can? I mean, wouldn't it just be better if you had the right tool? If you had that hammer? Of course it would. So it's all about giving you in a session the right tools so that you have the right tools in your toolbox, right? Lexi, hi. I love watching your videos. Oh, thank you. This was super fun. Glad I found you. Thank you for your time. Bye. Oh, Lewis had to leave. He's been giving lots of comments. Then I said, oh, guys, this one was really emotional. Ready for this one? I asked her higher self, I said, would it benefit her to have you download the program into her of? I know what it feels like. I know that it's possible. And I know I am motivated to see my soul journey and my soul lessons to completion, right? Instead of following her ego everywhere. Her higher self said, yes, it's like washing dirt off her back. Like if you went backwards into a waterfall and the water's rolling down off your back and it's rolling off all of the old stuck remnants of past lives, of unstuck issues in past lives. It's unsticking issues from past lives. They're rolling down her back and they're flowing away. This soul is so exhausted and ready. It's almost like the soul inside has moments of exhaustion where it's going back and forth like, oh, how are we going to do it? Please let this be the time she changes. It's very sad. And then my client's voice got really emotional. And I will tell you that every single person cries in these sessions. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. You will end up crying at some point because you're so touched and transformed by this connection with the voice of your soul, right? Remember, the higher self is the voice of your soul. Her higher self, I'm going to remind her, you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. So there's that thought that Jenny, her fake name, Jenny, has ingrained in her throughout the lifetimes, that she wants somebody to like her, to feel proud of her. And I'm giving her that feeling. I'm connecting her with her soul so she can get inspired and motivated to make these life changes for the soul. Wow. Was that amazing or what? That was amazing. So then I said, can you flood her mind, her body, and her emotions with an intense love for her soul? Because when we love someone, we want to do things for them. Can you flood her mind, body, and emotions with an intense love for her soul? And tell us what that looks like as you do it. And she was very, very emotional at this point. And so was I. I think I teared up at this point because I was like, oh, where did that question come from? Because I get these questions from my higher self too. I've never asked this question before. So I was like, oh, that's a beautiful question. So then she said, I'm so very emotional right now. Like grateful, like a prize given, something your emotions are overwhelmed by a gift you were given. That's the feeling that we're giving. And she wants to do this now. She is going to do this now. It's almost like Jenny feels like she was given a task to save the world. That's what I'm being given, but not in a hard way. It's almost like you're the only one that can do this. And this was incredible, guys. Her higher self said, imagine your shadow and how it's flat on the ground. You know, when you're standing up and the shadow is lying flat on the ground, that's what her soul looks like. It's lying flat on the ground right now. It's very tired. It's like a shadow on the ground, just light, like lifeless. It's on the ground. And I said, so she needs to step up and do the work to bring relief to her soul. Is that right? And her higher self said, yes. And it's going to happen. This session right here, we brought her here to tell her, to inform her that it's not that this is her last shot. We can't say that. The thing is that her soul is really tired. And I don't want to jump into another lifetime of the same lesson, her soul said. Baby, come here. This is my new stray, everybody. His name is Double Stuff, like Double Stuff Oreo. So he's so cute. I know, little baby. I know. He's so cute. He came up to my son when my son was out working. He's adorable. But okay, let me get back to this. So it's not that we can't say this is her last shot. The thing is that her soul is really tired and doesn't want to jump into a lifetime of the same lesson. It's not a risk of the soul not wanting to go into the next lifetime, but it is a thought or an idea that the soul is kind of pondering. Brand new concept, guys. Hold on. I'm going to bring something pretty wild. So before I go there to the really wild question that's next, hang on for this one. I just found that really awesome and at the end of the session, she said, I didn't realize how disconnected I was from my soul. I did not realize how completely disconnected I was from my soul. And it was really emotional for her afterwards to feel reconnected with her soul and working as a team with her soul, because she had gotten so far off into her own, I guess you want to call it, and we all do this, into your own problems and living your own life. And I got to go to work and I got to pay the bills and I got to drive the kids to soccer and I got to do this and I got to make dinner and blah, 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 and we're just doing all this stuff, just life, that we forget why we're even really here. And the lessons and the love and the growth that our soul wants to have. And we just can tend to just completely ignore that. And the soul sends a fractal of itself down into a meat suit, into a physical body, to learn lessons and to have these experiences. And it gives us so much leeway. It gives us, Creator gave us free will. We have a lot of leeway in how we're going to do it. But to then just completely diss the soul and not even help it or partner with our soul, which is the real us, at all, because we just go through this veil of forgetfulness and we even forget all about the soul. And then we just don't even turn around and even try to remember that there's this soul of ours that is just, yeah, Double Stuff does have a heart for a nose. I know. It's so cute. That there's this soul that has an objective too, and it wants to grow, and it doesn't want to sit in fourth grade forever. It's tired. It's lying on the ground like your shadow. It just gets tired and wants to move on and learn and grow. And that's who we are. We're creators. We want to grow. We want to expand. That's exciting. I don't have to tell you how incredibly draining it is to repeat the same patterns over and over and over in our lives and never feel like we're going anywhere. We're not making any forward momentum. And we're just staying in the same stuck patterns all the time. I mean, it's draining. It's exhausting. It's exhausting mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, on all levels. And the soul is getting drained too. So the last thing I read was the soul has considered the idea of not even going into a next lifetime because it's so gun shy that she's just going to do it again. She's just going to keep making the same choices and not learn her lessons. So I said, well, why would that be a bad thing? I'm thinking her conscious mind would probably be like, woohoo, yeah, no more Earth lives. Let's not do this again. That her conscious mind would be like celebrating. So I said, well, why would that be a bad thing if her soul decides not to go into another lifetime? And this is what her higher self said. And if my friend Linda is still online, I wrote this down for her and I to explore whenever her and I do a session again with her higher self, because her higher self, we do sessions where we ask kind of like off the wall questions or more advanced questions. And she's amazing. Her higher self times 3 is amazing. So anyway, I said, I'd love to explore this more. I said, why would that be a bad thing? And her higher self said, I don't think that was the plan. It's like there's a plan set in motion already for the soul. I do not know if it's you're going to live this many lifetimes and do these things, but there is a plan that has already been set in motion. And what happens in that lifetime is already happening. And then that would kind of change the course of that lifetime if the soul now changes its mind and decides it doesn't want to go on after this lifetime. It would affect things, either good or bad. There is a plan already in motion for the soul to go into a different lifetime. Who thought that was wild? Did you catch that? Did you guys get that? Don't worry if it went over your head. Let it go. If it went over your head, let it go. But yeah, Elizabeth, the soul sounds like once bitten, twice shy, right? Yeah. Melagons said, whoa, right? Explains a lot, right? Isn't that wild? So apparently when I showed you this little prop earlier, my little hair thingy, and that this is like, let's just say this is a circle of time, so to speak. And you've got all the different like times. You've got, before Christ, you've got after Christ, you've got the 1300s, you've got caveman days, you've got, the year 2030, you've got the year 2090, whatever it is. Okay. You've got all these timelines on here, and we get to jump around as a soul. Wherever we need to learn a particular lesson, we can jump to that time. We don't have to go in any particular order. That's not, from what I've learned doing this work, that's not how it works. There's not linear time like we think there is on Earth. That's just an agreement we have on Earth. So that it can be measured, and therefore they can make money off of us by measuring our time. Isn't that interesting? But I digress. So remember how I told you that there's an oversoul, and the oversoul has all these fractals of the soul, and you can be fractaled out, living multiple lifetimes at the same time. Okay. All around this circle. So apparently the next life, oh, wow. Super Vixen. Thank you for the heart. Heart me. Apparently there is a life, quote unquote, after this one that is dependent in some way on her current life and the next life that she's going to be living. So graduating from this one, not being completely exhausted and deciding I quit, and going on to a next life, because that next life impacts another one. So anyway, they're all tied together, and it would literally disrupt what's the word I'm looking for? It would literally disrupt the chain events of the lives. Not sure. So, yeah, it's a big deal. That's why it is so important to not just continuously, constantly ignore any kind of relationship with our higher self, who is the messenger for our soul, our oversoul, and to connect with your higher self, who is the mouthpiece for your soul and your soul plan, who guides you and shows you what it is, so that you can move forward on your soul plan rather than just being the rebellious kid thinking, I don't need my mom. I don't need my dad. I got life all figured out on my own. I'm going to do it my way. Because the human way is not the soul way. Like the human conscious mind has zero clue what the soul plan is. Zero. Like it's not part of that process. It's the conscious human mind. It's not part of the soul plan. It doesn't get a download. I shouldn't say it doesn't get a download. It can if you're open to it. It doesn't get, it's not in the executive meeting. Let's say it's not in the executive meeting where it's getting briefed. Oh, by the way, human self, here's the soul plan. We don't get that. We get that by connecting to our higher self, which again is the messenger for our soul. How do you stop a past life pattern from repeating in this lifetime? Usually, how we stop a past life pattern from repeating in this lifetime is we recreate a similar or the same experience, and then we hopefully overcome it in this lifetime. That's how we heal it. Or you can do a session like this, or a Theta Healing session, or learn how to do Theta Healing on your own, which again is on my website under courses, Theta Healing. And you learn how to find all these past life patterns and things and traumas and generational stuff too. And then you change it in a session like I've been showing you here that we do. We'll do downloads, we'll pull something. Like if a person has a belief that no longer serves them or a trauma, we'll ask for the higher self to pull that from them, send it to Creator's light, and replace it with something higher. So if someone is holding anger against mom, I'll ask, what are the lessons they were meant to learn from holding on to this anger for mom? Have they learned the lessons? Because again, you can't pass fourth grade till you learn the lessons. Have they learned the lessons? If not, okay, tell us what the lessons are. Like, give us the cheat sheet. Tell us the cheat code. Oh, okay, those are the lessons. Okay, got it. Can you download those lessons into her? Got it. Just like a computer, seriously. And then now, is she ready to release the anger from mom? Well, no. She needs, let's say the higher self said, she needs to learn how to have compassion for her mom. So she hasn't learned compassion for her mom yet? Nope, she hasn't learned compassion. So then I'll download Creator's definition of compassion into her, and that she knows what it feels like to have compassion for her mom. And then I'll actually ask her mom's higher self to communicate with the client's higher self and say, what is it that's going on with mom that caused her to be the way she was? Oh, she was beaten as a child. She was SA, I'm not going to say the word, by her uncle. She beat herself up her whole life because she never told anyone what her uncle did. And she lived with that shame and that regret. And she just never got over it. And then she had, this abusive mom who put her down all the time and just told her how bad she was and awful she was. And that's how she grew up. And so now with my client being able to hear from her mom's higher self in the session, wow, I can see now why my mom was the way she was. And she can look at her mom as that wounded child and now have compassion for her mom. And it gives her a better understanding of her mother and compassion for her mom. So then I can say, is she now ready to release the anger towards her mom? Or does she need more? And if she needs more, I have a lot of tools in my toolbox. I can give tools all day long for her, and I will get her to a place where she's ready to release the anger for mom, like 100%. And finally, when she is ready to release the anger she feels toward mom, I'll say, can you gather up all that anger that you said she's holding in her heart? You said it looked like purple goo or whatever. Can you gather all that up, send it up to Creator's light, and replace it with the energy of forgiveness, the energy of peace, and maybe some love and light, and put that in her heart. And tell us what that looks like as you do it. And then her higher self will be like, oh yeah, I'm gathering it all up. And I take it and it's like a slingshot, and I'll slingshot it out to Creator. And now there's all these like pink sparkles coming down and flowing into her heart, or whatever it looks like for her in her situation. But that's how we remove things and send those up. Do you feel anyone who's with me that's passed over? I don't do readings. I help people connect to their higher self and teach people how to connect to their higher self. That's my job on this planet. I don't do readings. When I'm in a session, I can tap into someone and feel different things occasionally, but I don't actually do readings. So like that. I honestly think that I was brought here to hear this. This is blowing my mind. Oh, I love that. Rinse and repeat was my experience until I surrendered my life to my higher self. John, I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, rinse and repeat, same patterns over and over and over and over until you finally learn how to connect to and live with your higher self. If you guys haven't seen it yet, on my website, Woke Lightworker, I have a free meditation called Meeting Your Higher Self. You can actually meet your higher self. I also have a mentoring program where I teach people how to do what I do the way I do it. Doing psychic surgery. We haven't even talked about psychic surgery because there's no time to get into that right now, but doing it exactly the way I do it. But it's also focusing on intense healing of yourself in my mentoring program and all the business side of things. And one of my students, it was so cute, in class, I don't know if she's on here or not, but in class this last Sunday night, because we meet every Sunday night, in class Sunday night, she said that her absolute favorite meditation in the whole world is my Meeting Your Higher Self meditation. And she turns it on and she does it all the time and goes and connects to her higher self and gets all kinds of answers for her life. And that made me feel so awesome. Like, I love that. So if you guys want that free meditation, go to wokelightworker.com. And as soon as you log into my website, a pop-up screen is going to come on and it's going to say, hey, if you want my free meditation called Meet Your Higher Self, give us your email because we're going to send it to you. And then also, of course, you're going to be on my email list. And I promise, I never send a bunch of emails. It's literally to let you guys know when I go live or if there's like a super special message I want to share, which is very rare. Because my goal is not to bombard you. And again, if you're interested in my mentoring program, you can find that information on my website and then reach out to me on email and then we can have a chat and see if you're interested in that. But you do have to go through my Theta Healing classes starting in January to be in my mentoring program because Theta Healing is really core to the work that I do. And it will be core to your work if you're going to learn how to do sessions the way I do them. Mel Gons, I honestly think I was brought here to hear this. This is blowing my mind. Oh, I think I already read that one. Yes. Videos have helped me a lot. Oh, I see you all the time. Child of Entropy, I see you all the time. You are such a huge supporter of me. I love you. Thank you so much. You promote me all over the place. I thank you so much. Do you believe in coincidence? No, of course not. I don't. Everything's planned. There's no such thing as coincidence. It's all planned for one reason or another. So let me see if there's any last things from her session I can share with you guys before we end. And don't forget to go on wokelightworker.com under courses and register for my free masterclass I have coming up January 8th on how to overcome fear. And we're going to go through an exercise in the class, in the masterclass, where I'm going to teach you guys how to suck the energy out of your fears so that you can overcome any fear that you have. Will it take practice? Depends on you. Depends on you. How strongly you're attached to something depends on how tightly you're going to hold on to it. So we'll talk about attachments too a little bit. Let me see. Do you believe in coincidence? On a soul level, it's in some level, we plan everything. So everything is brought into our lives to teach us lessons and experiences to help us grow. So even this client that I've been talking about the whole time, she had this really nasty, really mean, negative mother, but it has brought her so much soul growth and helped knock her out of fourth grade. So she kept repeating fourth grade in Earth School, and it's literally her mom getting closer to her and still being this nasty person has forced my client to decide, I don't want to live that way as a victim. I don't want to live with feeling like, I am being tormented by this woman and then I'm being energetically affected and emotionally affected by her nastiness. Wait a minute, I get to choose a different way to live my life and I can make different choices and I don't have to be my mom and I don't have to tolerate my mom talking that way to me. She might live in my house and still be negative, but I'm going to point out to her, which my client does, every time she's negative. And I'm going to teach her like a little child. This is how my client is. I'm going to teach her that it's not the way she's seeing it. It's actually this way, and teach her a more positive way to see things. And that's what my client does. She sucks the energy out of the negativity and says, well, actually, Mom, you could actually choose to look at this situation this way. And she very calmly, very patiently now, because she decided she wanted to be different, does that with her mom. And her higher self said it's completely changing the energy of their whole relationship. Her mom's still negative, but it's slowly letting her mom see that there's another way. But as a child, of course, my client couldn't show her mom this because that was how life was. She wasn't strong enough and she didn't know there was another way. She just had this negative, nasty mom. So, but now as an adult, she gets to be the teacher for her mom. And so she gets to teach her mom a different perspective. And that's helping to my client to grow. So even the situations where you feel like you're a victim or it's really negative can be very different when you work with your higher self. And that's my whole thing, is learning how to work with your higher self. I have a free course on my website. Again, I keep pushing you guys to my website, but on my website, I have a free class called Create a Life You Want to Live. And it was a 2-hour masterclass I did, Create a Life You Want to Live. And if you do that one, there's a second one called Intro to Spirituality. If you're newer to spirituality, I poured my heart and soul in that. It was a 4-week class. It's everything I would have wanted to learn when I was new on my spiritual journey. If you've been on your spiritual journey for a while, it's probably not for you, but it's everything I would have wanted to learn new on a spiritual journey. Like it will really give you a lot of information. And then the class after that is connecting to your higher self. It was a 4-week class I did that I'm selling the replay, super, super discounted from what it was when it was live. And the replay is 4 weeks of, this is who the higher self is. This is who the ego is. This is how you tell the difference in detail, how you tell the difference between the two. And this is how you can learn to live as your higher self. And I give you little homework assignments in between each class to say, try this for the next week. Here's some exercises you can do just going about your day to kind of help you remember, like, oh, actually, I'm going to do it this way instead of the old way I would have done it, because this is the way I'm going to be able to do it as my higher self. So I teach you how to live more as your higher self. So again, you can graduate from 4th grade, right? My daughter has Down syndrome and I want to know her purpose. I love that she chose me to be her mom. That is so awesome. I love that. Yeah. Okay. So in my sessions, people ask about their kids all the time. So autistic children, children who have health issues, like you name it. Yeah, I've had a few now that come to my mind where they had a lot of mental health issues. And we connect to the child's higher self and we can ask all kinds of questions, not only children, guys, but pets. So I just had one today is Tuesday. It was yesterday. I had one yesterday where we connected to her cat and her 3 dogs. And I actually have a TikTok coming out about that. And I'll probably post it either tonight or tomorrow. I already made it. And she connected with her pets and got a message from her pets. So yeah, we can connect to anyone's higher self. Now their higher self can say, nope, not talking to you. But that rarely happens because we're doing it with a good intention and with love and not to control or manipulate anyone else. Of course, we're simply just looking for answers to help us in our journey and to help them in their journey. And so anybody, you can tap into anyone's higher self through your higher self for the most part. Okay. Have a great night, Melgons. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. So yeah, I hope that helped you guys, but she has, let me see if she takes, I asked at the very end of the session, I'll end it with this, like not the end, but at the very end of everyone's session, I always say, if this person takes all the information that they learned from this hypnosis session, all the advice from their higher self, and they incorporate all of these things into their life, how will their life be different now going forward compared to what it would have been like had they not done this session? I love asking this question. So this woman's higher self said she is going to experience so many good things and exciting new experiences, and she's really going to appreciate them. She's really going to experience a lot of new things and have a new life, and it will rejuvenate her soul if she makes the right choices and does her work. It's going to bring a life force back into her soul. And if you missed the part about her soul, if you logged on late, you can watch the replay of this from the beginning on my YouTube channel. It'll be up on YouTube shortly after we end this call, this meeting, because it was really phenomenal about what her soul said. So her higher self said it's going to bring life force back into her soul. It's really going to happen and happen quickly. She has been made aware now of what she needs to do. And it feels like that shadow of her soul that was on the ground is coming up really slowly, like a vapor. Not completely like popped up and excited again, but almost like perked up a little bit and listening to what we're saying and kind of hopeful. I think she is excited to get started. Like, let me go get started. We are ready, her higher self said, and she is grateful for you. So I love that. So she got a clear picture of if you take all of these things from this session, all of this wisdom and this healing and this guidance you got from your higher self, these are the changes you can expect in your life. Is it true that Earth is shifting? Not sure what you mean by shifting, but I do have a live. If you go on my YouTube and look at my past live, I have a live that I did maybe a month ago on New Earth. So I think you might be interested in that one to hear about New Earth. Can you give a little example of how to identify who's speaking, your higher self or your ego? Yeah, Hakeem. So I said earlier, and maybe you weren't on here, but I said that you normally can tell the difference because if it's positive and loving and encouraging and gives you wisdom, and you know what's the difference between wisdom and not wisdom, but to move forward with your life, then just trust that that's your spirit team. And it doesn't matter if it's your higher self, if it's your spirit guide, if it's an angel, like just call it your team. They don't need individual recognition, by the way. They don't have egos like we do. And like, well, I'm the one that told her to do that and she did it and it's because of me. They're not like that. Just look at them as your team, but definitely show them gratitude and thanks. They love being acknowledged. My client yesterday, her higher self, said that her angels would love to be acknowledged more for the way they keep her safe. So many times when we don't even know it, our angels are keeping us safe. So maybe just acknowledge them sometimes and be like, angels, I don't see you or hear you or feel you like on a conscious level, but I know you're there doing amazing work and I'm still here. So you must be protecting me. So thank you. And just acknowledge them. But yeah, and if it's negative, if it's critical, if it's condescending, if it's mean to yourself, if you're standing in front of the mirror listing all the things you hate about your face and your looks and your body, that's not your spirit team. Obviously, it's not your spirit team. It's not. So that's a really easy way to figure out. And the other way you can get more connected and hear the voice of your higher self or your spirit team is to quiet your mind and do meditation. And again, I'll point you guys to the meditation on my website that's free at wokelightworker.com. It's called Meeting Your Higher Self. And it will lead you through a whole thing where you actually go and meet your higher self. So it's pretty cool. You can meet your higher self and get a message or 2 or 3 or 7. But quieting your mind is the best way. And if you're not meditating now to do a session with me, you have to start meditating. I tell everyone in the free 15-minute consultation call that you schedule in order to have a session with me. You can go to my website and schedule a free 15-minute consultation call. I'll answer all your questions, see if it's a good fit for you. But to prepare for your session, you have to agree to start doing at least 15-minute guided meditations every day between the time you book a session and the time you have your session, because you're practicing quieting your mind. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the different brain waves that researchers have identified. There's like gamma, alpha, beta. Beta is, I think, beta for busy brain. It's the monkey brain, busy brain. I think gamma, from what I remember, gamma is the one if you're like really intensely like doing math problems or scientific research or something like that. Alpha is a little bit more of a relaxed state. You can be in an alpha state when you're in a light meditation. And then there's theta, theta. Theta is a slow brainwave state that's just before you go to sleep. And sleep is delta. And so we don't want you to be in delta. You don't go to sleep when you're in a meditation, and you don't go to sleep when you're doing hypnosis. But for hypnosis, we use the theta brainwave state. Again, the slow brainwave that you enter into before you go to sleep at night. You're going into theta. That is the same brainwave when you are in a really relaxed meditation. It's the same brainwave. So what does that tell you? That tells you that hypnosis is very similar to meditation. So that's why I have all of my clients practice guided meditations, really relaxing meditations. Practice those to prepare yourself, your brain, your body, your mind for a session with me, because you'll be going into a theta brainwave state with me, just like you will when you're in a meditation. There's no secret hypnosis brainwave. There's no secret one. It's the same brainwave you use in meditation. So that's the best way to prepare yourself for a session. And if you can make it through a 15-minute guided meditation while you're awake, not sleeping, awake, then you'll be good. You'll be good to do a session. And then you can get all these answers, like about marriage, like, should I leave my spouse? Should I stay with my spouse? Like, this is what's going on. Traumas, lots of trauma healing. pulling trapped emotions, anger, fears, resentment, unforgiveness, diving into all of that, getting lots of downloads like self-love, self-respect, worthiness, unconditional love, and then psychic surgery. We didn't even talk about that tonight, but just briefly, psychic surgery. If there's anything emotionally or physically that's going on with you, working with your higher self in your body and the different body systems to remove, let's say it's anger trapped in your heart that's causing cancer. And so it's finding out, where did this anger start? Why are you still holding on to it? What are the lessons you've learned from it? And what do we got to do right now to release it? That's the first thing. We find out what's causing the cancer. We ask your higher self, or the diabetes, or the PCOS, or whatever it is, endometriosis, whatever it is. We find out why you have this sickness or this disease. I resolve all of the answers to all of those questions with your higher self. We hear all the answers, and then, and only then, do we ask your higher self to heal you, to remove it. And so each thing is going to be different. I might ask your higher self to do some rewiring, or, make a photocopy of your younger body and paste it onto your current body, your younger body that was healthier. Or, it could be any number of things that I do, but it just depends on what's going on with you and whatever I hear my higher self telling me to do with regard to psychic surgery for you. So we do a lot of physical healing too. So you can get all that stuff kind of wrapped up and done in one session. A lot of emotional trauma healing, but then you can also do like super fun things, like ask questions about, have I lived any other lives on any other planets? And where is my favorite place to live? And what do I like about it? And what do I do there? Like, what's my job as a Pleiadian? What's my job? What do I do? You can ask other questions about your pets. Like I said earlier, you can ask to tap into your pet's higher selves. Like, why did my pet choose me? What lessons am I meant to learn from this pet? What else do they want? Do they like their food? Like, I have people ask their pet's higher self, do they like the food I feed them? The answer is usually no. Just by the way, it's usually no. They don't. They don't like that hard kibble. And then they'll ask, like, what else does my pet want from me? And, oh, here's another one. If a pet has passed on, a lot of people want to tap into, what is their pet doing now on a soul level? Like, what are they doing? Are they another dog? Are they another cat? Another horse? Like, what are they doing? And the answer is usually no. They're not another dog or another cat. They've usually gone on and they're doing something else. But we can actually like look into that and see, what are they doing now? Do they have any messages for this person, for you? And how are they doing? Like, are they happy? Do they love their new life? Do they think about you? Do they miss you? Like, anything like that. So there's a lot of really fun questions. There's literally nothing off limits. And then you have, of course, questions people want to ask about what's going on in the world. Things about reptilians. I just posted a video on TikTok about the moon. My client yesterday wanted to know about the moon. Was the moon landing real? Or was the moon landing fake? And if the moon landing was fake, then what is all this NASA stuff? And, like, why are they trying to make people think that all this is real? And why? So then there's a lot of questions that people want to ask about just kind of things going on in Antarctica, in inner Earth, like things like that. So sometimes your higher self will answer these things. A lot of times they do. Sometimes your higher self limits it and says, we don't need to go too far down that rabbit hole, because let's just focus on your life and your healing. Here's a few things to satisfy your curiosity, but we're not going to get really in depth about this because you just need to work on you. And none of that is going to help you with your spiritual journey. Knowing who's in Antarctica and what's going on in Antarctica, unless you are specifically involved with going to Antarctica and being part of their meetings, their secret meetings that they pretend they don't have, you really don't need to know it because it's not going to help you with your soul plan, your soul path. And again, that's our job, is to be here to move forward on our soul path. And so finding out what our soul path is where our higher self fits in. And that's how our higher self is the one that's telling us the steps to take. Okay, here's step 1, step 2. I'll tell you guys something. This is what my higher self keeps reminding me. They tell me that our life is like a cake. It's like making a cake, that you add the ingredients one at a time. And I'm not all worried like, oh, but I haven't added the baking soda yet. I'm looking at the recipe card and I'm going down the list. Okay, I'm going to add the flour, and then I'm going to add the sugar, and then I'm going to add the salt, and then I'm going to add the baking powder. And then I'm going to mix all these dry ingredients up, and then I'm going to add the eggs. And I'm going to beat the eggs a little bit. And then I'm going to add the oil, or my favorite, adding applesauce instead of oil, make it healthier, right? I'm going to add the applesauce. And then I'm going to add, all these other ingredients. And the whole time I'm making this cake, I'm not afraid of what the cake's going to look like. I'm not anxious about what this cake is going to look like at the end. I'm definitely interested in licking the batter out of the bowl for sure, but I'm not anxious about it. I'm excited about this is going to taste really good. So I am not all worried about it. My higher self has been reminding me, Tracy, focus on the ingredient that you're pouring in the bowl right now. Stop thinking about the next ingredient that you have to pour in the bowl. Stop thinking about the ingredient after that one, or 2 ingredients, or 3 ingredients. Just focus on the ingredient you're pouring in the bowl right now. That's about being in the present moment and living your life so that you're not worried about, well, what's the next step? And what's the next step? And well, what about that? And what if this happens? And what if that happens? I'm not a worried, anxious mess when I'm making a cake. I'm just focusing on the ingredient that I have that's right now. Okay, next is the flour. And I go get the flour and put it in. So if we think of our life like that, I don't know about you, but that helps me. When I just use that analogy of focusing on one ingredient at a time. One ingredient at a time. I don't need to know what the cake's going to look like when it comes out of the oven. I'm not freaking out about it. I know it's all going to work out and it's going to be a cake. So if you kind of just look at it like that. I seem to be asking my guides, what's the next step? Thank for the reminder. I'm so grateful for all this insight. I've heard the term soul contracts. Is that the same? Well, soul contract is an agreement you have with someone else to play out a particular theme. So in my client's case on this session that I just went over tonight, and if you missed it, if you just logged on, guys, you can log on to my YouTube channel shortly after this is over, or anytime, in the next few days. It'll be under the live tab on my YouTube channel, Woke Light Worker. You can watch it from beginning to end because this was a fascinating session. And next week, I have a really fascinating session I'm going to be getting into too. You guys are going to learn a lot from it. You'll love it. So to be notified, make sure you go to wokelightworker.com and just go in the Contact Us tab and give me your email address, or sign up for my free Meeting Your Higher Self meditation. That will also give me your email address. And I promise, I barely send out emails. And mostly it's just to let you guys know when I go live, because I don't want you to miss it. But you can go to my live tab, but on my YouTube channel. But a soul contract, like with this woman and her mother, was for her to care for her mother when she came down with a terminal illness. And so that is something that's a soul contract. So she made an agreement on a soul level. But you guys keep this in mind. Whenever there's a soul contract, there's a benefit for both parties. It's not just to benefit one party. So if you feel like I'm in this person's life and I'm just getting shafted, I'm getting this shaft and they're getting all the benefit. No, that's not true. You're living in victim mentality and you're not seeing the lessons. You're not looking at it from a higher perspective. You're not looking at it from your higher self at all, because there is always, always something in it for both people. So maybe you're in an abusive relationship and you're like, what's in that for me? Oh, my dear, there's a ton in it for you. And I can speak from personal experience. Okay. You are learning how you're going to probably go to the bottom, right? You're going to dive to the bottom of the pool because you want to get all the way to the bottom. But you're going to learn eventually. You're going to learn how to stand up for yourself. You're going to learn how to walk away. You're going to learn self-worth. You're going to learn how to love yourself. You're going to learn how to stop being a people pleaser. And you're going to learn how to step into your own power. And you're going to learn that you don't have to take that you are the master and the creator of your own life. And you get to choose. And if you have, like I did in that situation, the excuse of, yeah, but what am I going to do? I can't make it on my own. I've got this and this and this and this and this and this and this. There is always a way. You would not put yourself on this planet in a situation that was impossible to get out of. You wouldn't do it. So there is a way, and it's the human desire in us to find the answer to every challenge that comes before us in our lives. So it's you actually on a soul level wanting to figure out, oh, how do I get out of this situation? Because there's 100 different ways, or 5, right? Different ways, but there is a way out. And it's for you to figure out. Now, I never said the way may be comfortable. It may be very uncomfortable. You may be sleeping in your car to get out of an abusive situation. You may be sleeping in a homeless shelter for 2, 3 months, 4 months. But there is a way out of it. You may not like the way, but there is a way out of it. So to act like we are powerless and we are victims in any soul contract is not true. And that just means that you're not in the lesson yet. You're not passing the test. And you're going to sit in 4th grade until you pass 4th grade. Right? And you're not going to sit there in 4th grade and go, well, I don't want to do the lessons and I don't want to do the homework and this is unfair and this shouldn't be happening to me. Why do I have to do this homework? And the teacher will go, okay, I'll see you back next year in 4th grade again. That's fine. You don't have to do the work. You can just repeat it. It's fine. And that's when we find ourselves, our souls go, oh my God, another lifetime of this same thing. Are you kidding me? Like we just literally did this 7 times and we're going to do it again? Because we get stuck in victim mentality and we don't realize that on a soul contract, there's benefit for both sides. Just like on planet Earth, right? As above, so below. Is it here? It's the same there. When you buy a house, one person gets to walk away with a bunch of money or their loan paid off, and the other person walks away with a new house. There's a benefit to both sides. It's always like that in a contract. There has to be something of value. There has to be an exchange of value. And there has to be a meeting of the minds for a contract on Earth. And if there's a meeting of the minds, that means on a soul level, either you personally, your soul, or your spirit council, who you have given authority to help make decisions for your soul. On a soul level, you've given them authority. On a soul level, you entered into this contract. So there was a meeting of the minds. So Louise said, I'm waiting for a heart transplant. Will I get one? Louise, I don't do psychic readings. So if you are anxious about the heart transplant, wow, there's a lot I could say about this. There's actually really a lot I could say about this. Wow, there's too much that I could say about this. Whew. Yeah, let me just stop it because I could go off on a serious bunny trail by saying I don't do psychic readings, so I cannot give you a definitive answer. But if you were interested in learning why you're worried about it and how you got to a position of needing a heart transplant, what's going on with your body that you would need a new heart, those would be amazing questions for your higher self. Your higher self could answer all of that in a higher self hypnosis session. So, I'm a man. I'm here. A lot of men's egos run their life, so that's probably why. Not just men. Our ego minds run most people's lives. I always say that I want to fix everything this lifetime so I don't have to come back here, right? Yeah, right. Let me see. I wish more men could or would hear this. Oh, Keith said that. Yeah, interesting. Keith said, interesting that almost all the people in this live are women. 98, almost probably closer to 99% of my clients are women. Yeah, I actually get really excited when I have a male client. And I will tell you, every single male client that I have had amazing sessions, like life-changing sessions, like amazing. And they're super special for me because I hardly ever get them. It's mostly women, and that's why a lot of souls, you'll have lives as women, you'll have lives as men, and a lot of people who want a more spiritual lifetime will choose to incarnate as a woman because there's more feminine energy. And feminine energy is receptive versus masculine energy, which is more like power and control. And a lot of women can have a lot of masculine energy where they're more power control. You look at women corporate executives and things like that, they are very much in their masculine energy. But so are single moms. Speaking as one here, right? Single moms. We have to be in our masculine energy a lot because we are raising our kids and providing for our kids, providing for our families, and doing both roles. And so that takes a lot more masculine energy. You can't just always be in receptive energy all the time, but it's definitely finding and trying to live in balance between masculine and feminine. And when you're in a meditation, that's something you can ask your higher self to do. And then just imagine what it looks like for your higher self to balance your masculine and feminine energies. Like, what does that look like for your higher self to do that? So, yeah, that's why, because the feminine energy is just more receptive to spiritual things. But it's awesome when men are into spirituality. Like, that just is so exciting. Like, for me anyway, it's like super exciting. I think women are the spiritual and emotional leaders on the planet. Yes. But you know what, Keith? I will tell you this. And I don't know, ladies, chime in if you agree with me. Women, like Keith says, women are the spiritual and emotional leaders on the planet. Wouldn't we just love to have the men join us or kind of even take the lead on being the emotional and spiritual, especially spiritual leaders on the planet? Like, wouldn't that be amazing to have that masculine energy step into the role of being a spiritual leader? I know that this is probably getting too personal, but on my second marriage, I used to beg my second husband to become the spiritual leader of our family. And I was a Christian at the time. Not that I don't absolutely love and adore Jesus, like he's very much a part of my journey, an ascended master. But I would beg him to become the spiritual leader of our family and lead the family in prayer and lead the family in this. And he just never would step into that role. And I actually, in that entire marriage, I was in masculine, very much in my masculine energy in that marriage too, because there was the void from him not being in his masculine energy and just really being just kind of absent from all of it. And so I don't know. Tell me, women, if you would also love to see more men stepping into roles as spiritual leaders. Like, that would be amazing. Cleo the cat said, yes. Oh my God. Right? Like, women would love that, like, crave that. Let me see. Do I talk about heaven and hell? Ooh. Giovanni said, yes, I wish all people would learn to balance masculine and feminine energies. Yeah, and it's a practice, but you can do it. I think that's a good meditation. I should make that meditation and put it on my website. I've got so many things on my plate right now. I told you guys I'm writing a couple books. My first one is about how to have a pain-free labor and delivery. So if you know anyone thinking about having a baby or anyone who is pregnant, I'm hoping it's out in January. I'm self-publishing it, so I will let everyone on my mailing list know. So if you're not on my mailing list, please go to my website, wokelightworker.com, and get on my mailing list, because I want to let you guys know when my book is out, but it'll be for sale on Amazon. I have a journal already on Amazon that I sell. You can just look it up under my name, Tracy Ventura. It's pretty amazing, actually. I will tell you, it's amazing. My kids use it. It's got to be amazing. My kids use it like voluntarily. So, but yeah, the pain-free labor and delivery, I did it. It is amazing. And it's like an experience you just can't imagine until you have it. Like, it's incredible. It's incredible. So I'm writing a book about how to do it. And I'm incorporating a lot of healing things you can do for yourself to prepare yourself for your baby, and how you can give your baby womb healing, your baby in the womb, how you can create space in your womb for your baby so it has lots of room to move around. Because something I hear a lot in my higher self hypnosis sessions, when I ask my clients about what it felt like to be in the womb, a lot of them say it was super crammed. And when I ask their higher self to create more room in their womb for them, their higher self does it. And they say, wow, this is amazing. Like, this feels so good. So that's only one of the things I'm going to share in the book, but there's lots of other healing we're going to do to prepare the space for the baby. So I call it nesting the womb. You know, when you nest, when a bird builds a nest, and they want to make it nice and soft and comfortable and beautiful for the baby. So that chapter is called Nesting the Womb. So if you guys are interested, get on my mailing list so I can let you know when my pain-free labor and delivery book comes out, because it's going to be really good. I'm super excited. My higher self is, of course, channeling the whole book through me, but it's super fun. But it's just taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. It's taking a little bit longer. I wish it would have been out by now. Let's see what everybody else has been saying. I've been trying to get the courage to have my next baby at home, said Canessa. I never had the courage to do that. I didn't. But knowing what I know now, I would. But when I was having my children, I didn't have the courage. I had more fear. So, but being who I am now and knowing what I do now, I would absolutely have my baby at home with a midwife. I would have a midwife. I would not do it without a midwife, but I would have a midwife. And it would be amazing. And I'd probably have a water birth. So if you guys have Gaia TV, you got to watch this show on Gaia. Gaia TV is all kinds of spiritual shows. It's amazing. And you can get it on your Roku and everything. But Gaia TV, and I think it's called The Business of Birth. Birth, The Business of Birth. John said, I really enjoy you. Oh, thank you. I feel like I'm just sitting here like talking to friends who are just like all into spiritual stuff. This is so awesome. That's why I could like go on forever. But The Business of Birth, or birthing, I think it's called. Oh my gosh. You'll want to have a home birth. After you see that show on Gaia, you're going to want to have a home birth, because it really opened my eyes as to the whole birthing business. It's a business, guys. And it has the same thing to do with, we hear all this stuff. The business of being born, Kanisha said. Yes, that's what it is. The business of being born. Thank you. I was wrong. The business of being born. It will shock you. Like, my 16-year-old daughter and I were trying to watch it together, and she had to step away. she's like, this is too disturbing for me. Like, I absolutely cannot believe that they've done this to the whole birthing process. Like, it was so shocking for my daughter. She couldn't continue watching it. But I highly recommend checking that out on Gaia TV, The Business of Being Born. But yeah, just like we hear about big pharma always pushing drugs and everything like that. So I decided when I had a pain-free labor and delivery that I absolutely wanted nothing to do with drugs, because I had already had 2 children at that point, where I was so drugged out that after I finished delivering my 2 children, I didn't even want anything to do with them at that moment, because I was just so drugged out and groggy and out of it that all I wanted to do was sleep. And I was just so like regretful and resentful that I was robbed of that birthing experience because of drugs. And because that's just what you do. You just go get drugged up because the pain is unbearable. Why can't we learn how to have a pain-free labor and delivery? So that's what I did. I determined that my next one was going to be a pain-free labor and delivery, and there would be 0 drugs, and the entire labor was going to be pain-free. And I'm telling you guys, I did it. It was amazing. And again, it's all going to be in my book, teaching everyone what I did, how to do it, and then adding on all the healing stuff that I know now that I wish I would have known then, but just based on what I do, how to, like I said, give your baby all kinds of healing in the womb and prepare yourself emotionally to be the best version of you. And I even run you through an exercise on how to overcome fear you may have about the labor and delivery process. The biggest fear, of course, I'm just going to say it because it's out there and people know what it is. If you've ever had a baby, it's that my baby could die in the birthing process. And we push it down because we're like, I'm not going to think about that because then I'll manifest it. I don't want to think about that. But it's there. And because you're pushing it down, you're actually giving it energy. And so it's about how do we find these fears that we have surrounding labor and delivery and pull them out so that we're not spending energy pushing them down, and we're actually just sucking the energy out of them and disposing of them. So they're not an energy involved in our birthing process. So I'm super excited. So make sure you're on my mailing list so you can find out when I release it on Amazon. Learning more about now how that's an institution in and of itself. Yes, the birthing, the hospital, it is. Seriously, watch that episode on Gaia TV, The Business of Being Born. Like, it will shock you. And like I said, you're going to want to have your births at home after that with a midwife, like, for sure. If I knew everything today that I did then, but I'm not having any more babies. So I would definitely have a baby at home. I wonder if it has to do with the birth certificates too. I don't know, because you eventually to live in this place, to be able to get a job, to get a passport, like anything like that, you've got to have a birth certificate. So I have some former family members from my husband who did home births, and they did not get birth certificates for many years, but you also have to have a birth certificate to get a driver's license. So they make it impossible to live in this world, in this society, without having a birth certificate. So even if you do a home birth or hospital birth, you're still going to end up, unless you want to live as an Aborigine somewhere in a teepee or a wigwam somewhere, you're going to have to get a birth certificate, the way things are set up now. So, and of course you can live totally off grid, but you just wouldn't have the creature comforts, right? Let me see. I'm excited to watch. Yeah, it's a really good one. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for being here. Let me just reiterate. If you missed this, if you just logged on, like I just saw La Bella Tatiana just joined, you missed a really great live where I shared some stuff that is really going to help change your life if you're open to learning what it's like to live as your higher self and learn from your higher self. But you can watch my YouTube replay. It's going to be live on the live tab on my YouTube channel shortly after it gets done. I think it downloads or something, but it'll be on my YouTube channel called Woke Lightworker. So you can always watch the replay if you missed any of this, because I went through a really great higher self hypnosis session, and you can learn a lot from her higher self and the lessons she's been learning in her life. I'm going to be live again next week. I don't know the exact day. If you want to be notified, again, get on my mailing list. Go to wokelightworker.com. You can get my free meditation called Meeting Your Higher Self, where you can meet your higher self and get on that journey. And you can also learn about my Theta Healing classes that are starting the end of January, where your life will never be the same. And if you are an awakening master, again, if that word, when I just said awakening master, struck a chord in you, you're an awakening master. If you're an awakening master, this is definitely an amazing way to catapult your journey, for sure. Catapult your journey on this earth. And then I also have a free course on my website called Create a Life You Want to Live. That's on wokelightworker.com. You can click on that. It's a 2-hour masterclass I did. You can click on that. And then don't forget to register for my free masterclass coming up January 8th. And it's called Overcoming Fear. And I'm going to lead you guys through exercises to teach you how to suck the energy out of fear, the same kind of thing that's going to be in my birthing book, my pain-free labor and delivery book that's coming out. But it's the same idea, where we're actually going to do it in the 2-hour masterclass. So you can register for that now under courses on my website, wokelightworker.com. And if you're interested in learning how to do what I do, like the way I do it, then feel free to shoot me an email, which you can also contact me through my website under the contact tab, and we can have a conversation and I can explain all about it, answer your questions. But there's more information about my mentoring program also on my website. My website has all that. And if you want to schedule or learn more about a higher self hypnosis session or a past life regression with me, you can schedule a free 15-minute phone call with me to learn more. And you schedule that on my website, again, wokelightworker.com. So you can learn all about my pricings, all on my website. I'm not hiding it. It's all on my website. The different kinds of sessions that I offer, the different kinds of questions you can ask your higher self. Like, there's a ton of information on my website if you just look there. But before you can get on my calendar, you have to have a conversation with me. I have to make sure that it is a good fit for you. And I absolutely do not pressure you whatsoever to do a session with me. I only want to do a session with you if it feels like a good fit. If I intuitively feel like it's a good fit, that's why I personally talk to you. I won't let you schedule on behalf of anyone else. I have to talk to that person personally, because I want my intuition to tell me if I should also be working with you, because it's my business, right? And I don't have to do business with anyone my intuition tells me not to do business with. That would be really stupid of me. So I want to make sure that it's a good fit for both of us. And then we can look at if you want to get on my calendar, or if you need a payment plan or anything like that. We can talk about all those details. So feel free to go to my website, wokelightworker.com, again, for any of those things. I hope to see you all next week in another live, where I am going to be talking about an amazing session where she wondered if she should be leaving her husband or stay married to him. And they have been together since they were young teenagers. So it's not an easy decision for her. So you're going to want to hear this one. It's really interesting. So watch. I don't know if it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday next week. I have to look at my schedule, because I do evening sessions for hypnosis too, and I don't remember my schedule. So I have to look. But if you're on my email list, I will definitely email you and tell you the day and the time. So go to wokelightworker.com to get on my mailing list. Also, because that's how I notify everyone when I'm going to be going live. Okay. Tips to get ready for a session. I go through all of that in the consultation call. I give you all the tips. I tell you exactly what you need to do to get ready, I send you videos to prepare you mentally, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like. I really hold your hand in the process. So it's going to be very successful because I do a lot of prep work with you guys. So just starting doing PLR and higher self healing. Love it. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Cleo the cat. I don't know what time because in order to get to my calendar, I have to close TikTok or put you guys on hold. And I don't want to do that. So, again, just look on my email. Look at my email. I'll usually send an email about 2 days ahead, the day before, and then the day of. I'll send you an email reminder to let you know when I'm going to be live. But it'll either, I usually do them Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So it'll either be Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday evening. And it's always 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So it's always going to be that time. So it'll either be Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, one of those days next week. Okay. So again, if you missed any of this, check out the replay on my YouTube channel, Woke Lightworker. And thank you all so much for spending this time with me. And if you want to reach me, just feel free to shoot me an email, tracy@wokelightworker.com. You can always send me an email. I love to hear from you guys. Okay. And until next time, next week, I will say goodbye.